in terms of administration, a person who heads a university with an administrative power over 700 colleges, and even then he remains simple and down to earth. That's really a great thing, sir. I would like to express my thanks to the registrar and the dean of faculty for their support, and thanks to my principal for his constant support and motivation. Indeed, this webinar became possible only because of the ever dynamic, enthusiastic organizing secretary and the coordinator of the Center for Capacity Building Programs for School Teachers, TNTU, Dr. Sivashakti Rajama. Dr. Sivashakti, thank you so much for being a bridge between our college and your university. When the lockdown began, many people chose to slow down the pace of life. But Dr. Sivashakti chose to speed up the pace of life and created a new addiction. I call it this way, webinar addiction among the academic community. And she has created a thirst for knowledge among teachers. During the last 4 months, she has organized close to 100 webinars. She's nearing close to that. And she keeps saying, she is always encouraged and motivated by the Vice Chancellor. Sir, all thanks to you and your team for creating such a vast pool of resource persons and knowledge in the academic community, not just in Tamil Nadu, in India and across the globe. So we really want to acknowledge that. Just a word about Crossland College. It's a rural college. It's affiliated to Mangalore University. We have gone through 3 cycles of reaccreditation. We have got it. We have got B++, and we have been ranked as the 88th best college by the India Today among all the colleges in India. Consistently, we have been ranked in the art stream. In fact, last year, 2019, our college backed the top 3 ranks in the Mangalore University exams, and including the first rank. So we feel happy and proud to join with a great university like yours in organizing this webinar. Now, coming to the theme of this webinar, it all began with a discussion with Mrs. Vinita, a research scholar at the University of Illinois at Chicago, USA. After several rounds of discussions, we decided to focus on the theme of the unreached children in different settings. Finally, we decided on the title, Every Child Matters, Reaching the Unreached Strategies, Challenges, and Success Stories. From then on, we started looking for resource persons with a similar background. We are grateful to the much acclaimed resource persons for accepting our invitation. In fact, some of them canceled some other engagements to give us the dates. Even today's resource person, she had a very busy schedule, but when I requested her for today, she really canceled and she's available. Thank you, dear resource persons, for sparing your valuable time. We have a society today where we say all are equal. But in reality, as George Orwell in his novel said, Animal Farm, he stated, all are equal, but some are more equal than others. It's very true of today's situation in our society. Some children are left behind because they come from poor families, or their IQ levels are low, or they are emotionally disturbed. Not just that. There is a digital divide, there is rural-urban divide, there is a divide between English medium and local medium, geographical divisions, racial discrimination, discrimination of children due to some physical disability. All that has led to dropout of children, forced labor, and even emotional trauma, and in some cases, cruel suicides by children. Precious lives are lost. Every child matters. Nobel laureate Kailash Satyarthi once said, if we fail our children, we are bound to fail our present, our future, faith, cultures, and civilizations as well. It's traumatizing to see how children are forced to take their lives because they studied in a particular medium, but they could not make it an entrance. Look at the kind of suicides that we had because children could not complete or qualify for their need, they commit suicide. Is it their fault? Definitely, they are not less intelligent to make it to an IIT or a medical school, just that they are unreached and they did not have opportunities like other children get. Not that these children don't have the potentials to be the leaders, it's just that they are neglected, not they are not creative, just that they are judged with the same yardstick Many children suffer from mental health issues which nobody cares. Being born in a poor family, being born in a village, being born as a differently abled child is not their fault. It's our failure to give them an equal opportunity that has left them behind and crippled their growth forever. Can we correct? A teacher in Jharkhand was teaching the village children through loudspeakers. A teacher in West Bengal was sitting on a treetop to get network connectivity to teach the children. Or take the case of a group of teachers in a Tamil Nadu school where they mobilized money to buy smartphones for the children to attend the online classes. Dear teachers, the message is loud and clear. Yes, we can. This is the theme behind the webinar. Every child matters and no one should be left behind because of their socio-economic background or because of their physical or mental disability. Each resource person in the next 7 days comes with a rich experience to tell us his or her story of how he or she made a difference in reaching out the unreached. They are all driven by the passion to create a positive difference with their work. Dear participants, you will have a real treat with ideas for the next 7 days with so many success stories, and they can truly be inspiring. Let's join our hands through this webinar to reach the unreached with the vigor, to give them a smile, a hug, a pen, a notebook, and above all, our love, and make a difference in someone else's life. Professor Vice Chancellor and Dr. Shivashakti and all us others from the university, we want to thank you for this great opportunity to partner with you for this webinar. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so much, sir, for inspiring us. It is time to start the magic. We are all excited to begin this international webinar with an inspiring message from the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, Chennai, Professor Dr. Panchanatham. He comes with a rich experience in teaching and administration for more than 3 decades. He has made 55 international visits covering 36 countries for academic teaching, research, and training activities. He has visited 500 educational institutions in India and abroad for academic purpose. He is the recipient of the first doctoral degree in the Department of Business Administration, Annamalai University. He has series of publication in national and international journals. He has authored and edited many books. His research guidance include 40 PhD scholars. He has received 41 prestigious national and international awards and fellowships. His educational qualifications include MBA, PhD, MSc in Zoology, MEd, MA in Psychology, and MSc in Yoga. Sir, we are truly honored to listen to you. May I request you to make your presidential remarks? Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
If there is any problem, please indicate. I will switch off my video so that better audio will be possible.
Okay, sir.
Good morning to all. Congratulations to all. Professor Balakrishnan, respected Registrar of the University, Professor Govindan, respected Dean and the Controller of Examinations, who has been conducting examinations for more than 120,000 students. Now he is actively involved in the process of valuation camp in 700 colleges, but still he finds time to be with us and appreciate the organizers. Most respected, my good friend, Professor Samuel, I'm very happy, delighted. Thanks to Dr. Shivashakti Madam, who connected classmates after 30 years. And I am very happy, knowingly or unknowingly, earlier in last week also, through like this, some other webinar, my B.Ed classmates, around 4 or 5 classmates, we were all B.Ed students 36 years ago. And through these webinars, we connected. So we all again spoke, met through WhatsApp and all. Thanks to Dr. Shivashakti Madam. So, such a great, respected teacher, principal, Dr. Samuel, sir. Then Dr. Robert Klein, who gave an introduction in a nice way. The way he writes WhatsApp message, I love him very much. So next, at least when opportunity comes in the next Janma, I want to be his student. So such a humble, nice, beautiful words, WhatsApp messages he writes. So I like him. He's a great teacher. His students are really fortunate. Then Dr. Sivasakti Rajammal, if you permit me, another 15 minutes, I will speak about her only. So such a dynamic leader, as he rightly, Dr. Robert told, she is organizing now her 100th program, maybe one or two here and there, maybe 101 or 88, 99. So for the past 4 or 5 months, whether she finds time to sleep or not, I do not know. She is organizing around 100 programs. In every program, hundreds of respected participants from various places do participate. And apart from that, she is going to be a great leader. Already she is a leader, and she is going to be a great leader. The good quality, she always is not doing it alone and collaborating with other organizations and friends in the same university. So the teamwork. See, a good leader can be a good team player. Good team player. It's a science. It's a science already proved and established in the world. So such a great personality, Dr. T. Sivasakti Rajammal Madam. But also we have to learn from her. She works night and day along with her team. Whenever I say Madam Sivasakti Rajammal, I mean other people who are directly or indirectly working for all the programs. And ultimately, she says that Vice Chancellor is responsible, others are responsible. No, I please record it, Mr. Subramaniam. I am not responsible at all. Only I will take responsibility wherever the program goes wrong, some problem comes, flaws are there, I will take responsibility. For all plus points, success, only Dr. Sivasakti Rajammal and her team, they are responsible. So I join Dr. Robert and Dr. Samuel in congratulating Sivasakti Rajammal and her team for organizing this program. Similarly, along with the Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, the host, Crossland College, Udupi, was Crossland College, particularly the IPSC cell. I'm very happy they have gone for 3 cycles. They are waiting for their 4th cycle. We all pray to God. We all wish the college under Dr. Samuel's leadership, you should get A+ grade at the earliest. That is our prayer. That is our wishes. That is our motivation. You have joined with our institution as a host or co-host, whatever term you call, and we work together. It is a collaboration, and we will work together, see that we provide good education to the society. Similarly, I want to address everybody. I hope Dr. Balamurugan, Dr. Subramanian, Dr. Premalada. So I want to address everybody because of want of time. I request all of you to forgive me if I say Dr. Sivasakti Rajammal. It means I have addressed everybody. And particularly I want to address Ms. Wafa and another student. No, the way they do comparing. But again, I am tempted to come and join in this college. See her language, her preparation, her language, her presentation. You see, she's seeing me first time, that too online. The way she presents, she introduces me as if she knows 30 years ago. She knows me 30 years ago. In that way, her age may not be 20 even, but she asks if we are friends for more than 30 years, and she has been doing it. God bless you. You have got a very bright future. Wonderful comparing you are doing. God bless you. Similarly, I want to appreciate all other students who has joined. He also taking care of it. So other maybe your teams, members in both institutions. I congratulate. I appreciate. As Dr. Robert rightly told, most respected resource persons. So very important. We inaugurate after that all respected participants, they want to listen to all these great experts in the name of resource persons. So we salute all respected resource persons. I came to know through this message by Dr. Robert that some of them have cancelled their other programs and they have come here to address our participants. So this is the commitment. And at the end, I want to respectfully address most loving participants, more great participants, participants interested in learning. Stop learning, stop teaching. Stop learning, stop doing research. So learning is a continuous process. So many respected participants are teachers, professors, students, scholars. I am very happy to appreciate you, encourage you that you have joined in this program. It shows that you are going to have very great future because you continue to learn. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, very good morning. Thanks to every one of you. But Wafa, you should not think that I am completing. Only I am not starting now. But I will finish at the earliest. And I requested Dr. Shivashakti Rajamal in one of the days, as rightly Dr. Robert told, there are in YouTube, there are 3 to 4 minutes video about Mr. Kailash Satyarthi's video about children, 3 to 4 minutes, I hope in every day or 1 or 2 days you can screen that video so that how the right terminology are given for title. Child matters, particularly the word you have used there. Every child matters. So it touches the heart. And also reaching the unreached strategies, challenges, and success stories. Thanks to the madam from United States who guided and inspired all of you to fix this title. Because when you go around the world, you see many tragedies. Somewhere, mothers, parents, fathers, they are selling their children. This is the state in many places in the world. They are just for a bread or a few dollars. They sell their own children. You see, this is the world. So every child matters. Wonderfully you have selected. God bless all of you because you are going to deliberate for 1 week. Certainly our behavior will change. Certainly we will contribute something towards having better children in the world. Some of the statistics, if you see, it is heartening, really. It is heartening. But anyhow, others, resource persons will be speaking much about it. But I am tempted to speak about it's an opportunity. I hope participants will excuse me because Dr. Samuel, principal of this great college, and we were classmates 30 years ago. And one of our teachers told one story. I think that made him to become principal, I think that story was like this. A mother was waking up a child in the morning around 8 o'clock. Hey, get up, go to college. The child told that, Mommy, I don't want to go to college. Why? 2 reasons. No student likes me in the college. No teacher likes me in the college. So I don't want to go to college. So the child told. The mother told, keeping a stick in the hand, beating the child. The mother told that, no, you have to go to college. I will tell you 2 reasons. One reason is your age is 55. You are the principal of the college. So whether others like, don't like, you have to go to college. So this is the incident that happened 35 years ago. My teacher told this story in the classroom when Dr. Samuel and I were classmates. I think this motivated Dr. Samuel to become principal of the college. Now he may recall whether really his mother or his wife keeps a stick and says that go to the college. Students will like you or students may not like you, but you have to go. You may be 50 plus, everything. He is remembering those days now. So principal job is a tough job. One day everybody will appreciate. One day sometimes people may not like him, but still he is a good leader. He is there. I am very happy to see him after a long time. Similarly, I hope that you all will join in congratulating and appreciating our teachers. Our university has got, though the university is a big university, it has got 700 colleges affiliated, wherein more than 6,000 teachers are working, 1,20,000 students are studying, all those things are there. But in the university premises, we have only 32 teachers, including Dr. Balamurugan or including Dr. Shivashakti Rajamal, Dr. Rakishwari and all, only 32 teachers, including our D. Govindan sir, our Balakrishna sir, who is a registrar. These 32 teachers in these 4, 5, 6 months, they have organized more than 700 programs. Online programs, conference, seminar, one-day webinar, national webinar, international webinar, something like that. In these 4, 5 months, they have organized more than 700 programs. Plus, they have acted as resource persons in others program, more than 200 programs. Apart from that, they themselves as humble students and learners, they have participated in more than 500 programs. Dr. Subramaniam is keeping the record. All account is with him only, Dr. Subramaniam. So why I'm telling here, such good teachers, good non-teaching friends, colleagues we have in our college, I appreciate them. So with this note, again, I assure you that I will not take much of your time. Already my time is over, maybe by 10 minutes, 5 minutes I will take. And I want to say that another award-winning award is the importance of child. Every child matters. We should take care of them. But recently I could see in YouTube an award-winning small video where a child from a slum area with a small tire, cycle tire, he runs. He is playing where he is seeing co-children, other children buying chocolates, eating ice cream, everything. But he does not have money, but he is playing. Fortunately, that tire, when it moves, somewhere a 50 rupees note is there. So it touches that, it got pasted. It got pasted in the tire. So he takes that 50 rupees, immediately looking at other people, other children, they are all eating in small shops. So he also wants to eat ice cream. That time, sound comes. 4, 5 glasses were broken. That sound comes. So immediately he looks at that place, the boy, another boy of his age of 7 or 8, actually he thrown some ball. He was playing with a ball. The ball fell on those glasses. Glasses fell down and broken. Then the old lady of more than 70 years old with 1 or 2 vessels, with 5, 6 glasses, she is preparing some tea in every small shops she is selling and taking care of her livelihood. Those glasses were broken by another boy who threw this ball. So the boy is worried. The lady may beat, lady may scold, but the lady, she is calling him, come here, take your ball. And she touches the head and says, don't worry, go. This incident is noticed by this boy who has got 50 rupees note, wants to eat other things. That time, after seeing this, that lady is just, old lady is taking all the glasses, broken glasses, and she is going there somewhere to throw. Before she comes back, this boy who has got 50 rupees pasted in the tire, by luck it came to him and wanted to eat ice cream and chocolates like others. He just runs to a shop and buys 5, 6 tea glasses. And he comes, before that lady comes back, he keeps all the 5, 6 glasses in the old lady's small shop, where 2, 3 vessels are there. She is selling, preparing tea and selling. All day, she may get 50 rupees or 100 rupees. She takes care of her life. So for her, it is a surprise. She looks at the glasses, from where it came. Then the boy, he wants to see who did that. Before that, the boy is flying out. Even today, the lady does not know that only this boy provided the investment for today's business. These 5, 6 glasses are investment for that lady. Who gave that money, who brought that glasses, the lady does not know. The boy is disappearing. This is a small video, how child is seen, the attitude of the child. Such great children are there in the world. Unfortunately, many of them living in poverty. They say that UNICEF says that 22,000 children die each day. 22,000 children are 4, 5, 6, 7 years old children. Every day they die. You see that once again. See that once again. Every second somebody is dying. Majority of them are children. For which we should do something. That is the reason I congratulate your college, our Sivasakti Madam's team, that you have taken the right topic. Each child matters. Each child matters. It is our responsibility to see that because of poverty, 22,000 children die every day. Today we are conducting this program. In the world, 22,000 children are dying. I visited many African countries. I could see people suffering for water, people suffering for one-time food. You see, in some of the countries, I could see in the ration shop also, they keep police, they are beating people, only then ration can be provided. Otherwise, a lot of violence to get their food back. So this is the situation in the world, particularly very much children are suffered. Child is suffering very much. So for which this 7 days workshop will give a lot of strategies, challenges we all accept and take care of them, and so that at least we can address these problems. We can try to revive the world. And 385 million children around the world live in poverty. 385 million children. 1 million, 10 lakhs. 385 million children around the world live in poverty. They do not have one-time food, small bread. The child does not have a bread. They live. And every year, 3.1 million children die due to poor nutrition. There is no food. Where is the question of thinking about nutrition? So that has to be taken care of. About 13% of people globally do not have access to electricity. Electricity, see the situation. Recently, for a NAC visit, I went to Meghalaya in India. They took us to a small interior village in the forest, and the forest Gara language they speak. In the forest, they say that this is the first generation. We are going out and charging the mobile. We have not seen electricity. Even the day we went there, they do not have electricity. That 100-year-old lady was there. We asked what is your aspiration in life? He says that I want to see a bus. I want to see a road. Road means what is road? On road, what will be bus? What is bus? How bus will go? These things I want to see. My age is 100. My age is 100. How poor, poverty, status all over the world is there. So we have got a lot of responsibility. That is the reason I congratulate the organizers of both institutions to choose this great topic here, child matters. Similarly, illiteracy is highest among females. In more than 20 developing countries, illiteracy rates amongst women exceed 70%. 70%. A woman is educated, a girl is educated, the family is educated. Unfortunately, girl children, ultimately women, 70% of women are not educated in majority of the countries. Particularly, girls are not educated means how that family will be all right, how that country will be all right. It is a big challenge, big question. We all should think about it. This is how, if you permit me, I will be going on talking more. But the very purpose of my joining in this program is to say all the best to you, to congratulate all of you, to appreciate all of you for taking up this great title and inviting hundreds of participants on behalf of organizers. I appreciate all the respected participants, teachers, scholars, students who are going to be benefited out of it. Please take these messages you are going to listen from all people. Some messages may be known to you, but still we need reinforcement. We need reinforcement. I hope respected resource persons will be providing a lot of reinforcement so that we all will contribute to the society, because everybody should live long. Everybody should be happy. Happiness should not be restricted to a particular segment. Only now after this corona is one of the best teachers. People say after this corona, people are praying with God that our neighbor should not get corona. Our neighbor should not get corona. Why? If neighbor gets, I also will get. This is the problem. So similarly, all people should be educated, particularly girls, women should be educated, because they are more, I see that, more emotionally balanced. They are more dedicated towards the family. They are more dedicated for the country's or world's development. So it becomes a responsibility to take care of everybody. I hope that lot of deliberations will be there. I hold folded hands. I request all the stakeholders to visit our university, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, Chennai. Please do visit our university. Please do visit our home. And very particularly, I request all the respected participants to visit our website and come forward for more collaborations. The future is going to be a collaborative world, not competitive world. You benefit because of me, and I benefit because of you. In that way, we all should collaborate, and we should conduct a lot of programs, sign more MOUs. We all should grow together and contribute to this particular cause. Not only this child development or each child matter. More than that, there are various areas of concern for which as teachers, we should do our level best, because our university our India had a lot of excellent universities like Nalanda, Dakshashila. In those days, Dakshashila means, this is stone. Shila means making the stone into statue. So every teacher's responsibility is to make every child a statue. That means great person in the world, for which we should continue to learn. So I respect all those participants. You have come with a lot of dedication to learn, again learn, relearn, unlearn, again learn, relearn, so that we take care of children. So with this note, once again, on behalf of Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, on behalf of the great institution, college, 3 times they have gone for NAC, Grassland College, Udupi, Karnataka, on behalf of both institutions and stakeholders of both institutions, we appreciate all respected resource persons and all respected participants for spending your valuable time. On behalf of all of us, we congratulate organizers of Grassland College and Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University for making this program a great success. Thank you very much. God bless all. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir, for your touched message. I believe you have touched all our hearts. I believe every child matters to you. Thank you so much for your presence and insight. This is a great occasion when hundreds of teachers are waiting to listen to every message that is shared. Due to some unavoidable circumstances, Professor Govindan, Dean of Faculty TNTU, is unable to join us to give his felicitation message. He sends his best wishes and he will join us for the valedictory program on the last day of the webinar. A man for all seasons, a dynamic leader, a great motivator with a smiling face always. That is our principal, Professor Samuel K. Samuel. Sir, I request you to share your message on this great occasion. Over to you, sir.
Honorable Vice Chancellor of this esteemed university, Professor N. Panjanathan, respected Registrar, Dr. T. Shivashakti Rajaman, and Dr. Robert Clive, the organizing secretaries of the conference, the teachers from the Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, my colleagues, respected participants, and Ms. Wafa, who is the MC of this inaugural session. At the outset, I would like to thank the Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University and its Honorable Vice Chancellor, the Registrar, and the coordinator, Dr. T. Shivashakti, for giving us an opportunity to associate ourselves with this international seminar. And more than all these things, I felt really happy that this has provided me an occasion to renew my relationship and my friendship with my good old friend, the respected Vice Chancellor of this great university. And Professor Panjanathan needs to be appreciated. He should be appreciated for his simplicity, his humility, his clarity of purpose. And moreover, I have always considered him as a visionary leader. And when I was listening to him, one thing which touched me a lot was a reference that he was making about the organization of the webinar when he said, if everything goes right, Dr. Shivashakti can take all the credit. If something goes wrong somewhere, I am there to take all the blame. Great, sir. I remember the same thing which was said by our late President Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. He was explaining his experiences about his superior, and once he made a statement like this, when things went wrong, my superior was always there to take up the responsibility. And when everything went on the right path, he allowed me to take up the credit for that. So that is the type of leadership that our Honorable Vice Chancellor is having, and I'm very sure that those who are in the university will be very happy to work under such a visionary leader. Also, I am reminded of the words of R.W. Emerson when he said, an institution is the lengthened shadow of one man. His character determines the character of the organization. And I'm sure that with this Vice Chancellor at the helm of affairs of the university, surely we will have a continued partnership. We are not going to end our relationship with organizing a few webinars like this, but let us continue the partnership, mainly because I feel that two institutions with the same vision and mission have come together. When our college was started way back in 1984, the founder, late Dr. C.T. Abraham, he wanted to establish a college with a difference. He wanted to establish a college in order to help the underprivileged students to continue their education. And he encouraged all of us, in fact, to get into activities where we will be helping the people around us. And I find another great man in Dr. Panjanathan, who is heading a university which would like to walk in the same road. So two different institutions with the same goals in mind have come together, and I'm sure that we will be able to do wonderful things. There is absolutely no doubt about it. And that is reflected in the theme that is selected for this particular webinar. Every child matters, reaching the unreached. I'm not going into the details of the theme that is selected for the conference or the webinar, because the respected resource persons are there in order to throw light on all those aspects. So I don't want to stand in between the resourceful resource persons and the people who are waiting to listen to all of them. So I take this opportunity to once again thank my dear friend, the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. T. Shivashakti, the coordinator, for allowing us the opportunity to be with you when you are organizing this particular webinar. I have to thank my colleague, Dr. Robert Clive, who always likes to go an extra mile for the benefit of others. And this time also he had done the same. I was simply sitting here, he was coming me and explaining to me about all the conversation that he had with the university. And then I said, Dr. Clive, you go ahead, definitely we can organize the program, we can co-host the program, and so on and so forth. And he did everything that is required for the organization of this program, and I am really thankful to Dr. Robert Clyde and thankful to all my colleagues for extending their helping hand in the proper organization of this program. And I wish all the participants the very best. Let us make a paradigm shift in the way we look at the whole education sector. I think it is time that the purpose of education has to undergo a drastic change. So let us make a beginning for that. So once again, I wish all the participants the very best, and I once again would like to convey my regards to my good old friend, the Honorable Vice Chancellor of this esteemed university. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for inspiring us and also being a great leader. We have come to the short but a meaningful inaugural program. Now I request Mr. P. Subramaniam, Assistant Professor, TNTEU, Chennai, to propose vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. May I audible, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Sir,
Thank you so much.
today's resource person Aarti ma'am available.
Okay, ma'am. I will mention in my vote of thanks.
And on behalf of all of us, we wholeheartedly welcome Aarti ma'am, today's
Aarti.
resource person. And hundreds of people are waiting to listen to you. I think Dr. Subramaniam will propose vote of thanks, then we will continue that program.
Can I proceed, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much. My warm good morning to all and all gathered here. So we, the organizing team of Center for Capacity Building Programs for School Teachers, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, and the IQAC of Grassland College, Udupi, Karnataka, deem it a great privilege and honor to propose a hearty vote of thanks in the inaugural function of 1 week international webinar. At the outset, I would like to thank our Governor Chancellor of Tamil Nadu for selecting a right academician as a Vice Chancellor for our university. He is none other than our Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor Dr. N. Panjanadam sir. So under his democratic leadership, the Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University is functioning very well. So we are privileged to have our Vice Chancellor for our university. He is a man, he is always motivating us to do a lot of programs during this lockdown period. Under his able leadership and guidance, our teachers, our university teachers have organized, participated and acted as a resource person in more than 1,000 digital programs during this lockdown period. All the credit goes to the motivation of our Honorable Vice Chancellor. Because of him only this is possible. Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable presence. Amidst your busy schedule, you have spared your wonderful time with us to grace this occasion, very meaningful and interesting. And thank you so much, sir, for accepting our invitation to deliver the presidential address in the inaugural function of 1 week international webinar. We are delighted by your presence. We are inspired by your words of appreciation. Once again, I wholeheartedly thank you for your wonderful words of felicitation and for your wonderful presidential address in this regard. And I must thank the most respected professor, most respected registrar of Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, Professor B. Balakrishnan sir. Whenever we have submitted any proposal, he used to accept our invitation, he used to accept our proposal, and he used to encourage us by giving his necessary permission in conducting such kind of event in TNTU. Thank you so much, sir. And I must thank the professor and head of Department of Education Psychology, Dean of Faculty and Controller of Examinations, Professor M. Govindan sir. Our Vice Chancellor in this speech, he has rightly pointed out that he has successfully completed the online theory and practical examinations with his team in the past week. He is known for his another name, Busy Bee and 24/7. Such, yes, he is really Busy Bee of our university, and we wholeheartedly thank you, sir. We are thankful to you, sir, for taking efficient leadership towards organization of this webinar. And I must thank the vibrant principal of Grassland College, Udupi, Karnataka district, Udupi district, Karnataka, for coming forward to collaborate with our institution in organizing this international webinar. Our vice chancellor used to say the following words. The future is for collaboration, not for competition. In this regard, we are privileged to have collaboration with your institution under your able leadership for organizing this webinar. We wholeheartedly thank you, sir, Professor Samuel, sir. And I must thank the vibrant coordinator of the Center for Capacity Building Programs for School Teachers. She is none other than Dr. T. Shivasakti Rajamani. A woman is known for her tireless efforts towards organizing a series of webinars during this pandemic period. Thank you so much, ma'am, for taking a lot of efforts towards organizing a series of webinars during this lockdown period to the stakeholders. And I must thank another legend, another organizing secretary of this international webinar. He is none other than our Robert G. Clive, sir, Associate Professor, Grassland College, Karnataka, for taking a lot of efforts towards organizing this webinar in collaboration with our institution. We are delighted by your presence. We are inspired by your words of appreciation, and you have explained the theme of the webinar in your own state. That was really inspirable. Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful words of felicitation and your wonderful words. And I must thank all the organizing joint secretary of this webinar, namely Dr. K. Ratiswari Madam from Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, and Dr. S. Balamurugan sir, Assistant Professor, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, and Dr. Joseph Elizabeth Catherine Madam, Assistant Professor, Stella Materna College of Education, and Professor Rebu Samuel sir, Vice Principal, Grassland College, and Professor Johnson Jacob, Associate Professor, Grassland College. Without them, this webinar is not possible. Thank you all for your wonderful cooperation and support towards organization of this event. And I must thank the resource person, and I must welcome the today's resource person, RTC Rajaratnam, the psychologist and author, who have connected with us in this inaugural function. Who is going to deliver her beautiful presentation in the next 1 hour. We welcome you, ma'am, and we thank you, ma'am, for your presence in this inaugural function. And I must thank all the organizing committee members for their wonderful support and encouragement towards the organization of this webinar. And I must thank Mrs. Wafa, the anchor of today. Ma'am, you have done a very good job. You have done a very wonderful job. And thank you for your efforts towards anchoring of today's webinar. Thank you, ma'am. And I must thank Dr. Ranjini Devi Madam from MSS Training College, and Dr. T. Premarana Madam from Bharatiya University, and Dr. Rajkumar sir from Tyagarajar College of Support, Tyagarajar College of Preceptors. Without them, this webinar is not possible. Thank you all for your wonderful support and encouragement. And I must thank all the participants. Yes. The success of any webinar depends upon the active participation of the participants. In this regard, I must thank all the participants who have connected with us during this inaugural function of 1 week international webinar. It is our ability that made this day a very memorable day in the history of Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University and in the history of Grassland College, Karnataka. If I have missed anyone's name, it's not intentional. Kindly excuse me. Once again, I thank one and all gathered here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. It is nice of you to share the feeling of gratitude to everyone who is witnessing the program through different digital platforms. Respected dignitaries and dear participants, we are geared up for a week-long sharing of ideas from some of the greatest minds from across the globe. I'm sure we will all have something to take home. I wish you all a very fruitful webinar. For now, I Wafa sign off. Thank you so much.
So I must thank Wafa from the bottom of my heart. Actually, they are going through the exams now. She is part of the outgoing final year batch. And when I just requested, sir, why not? That's her spirit. Actually, I always tell Wafa, we are inspired by her. So today, thank you, Wafa. You made a big difference in the inaugural program. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much for the opportunity. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Wafa. Thank you. Thank you so much,
She
Wafa.
is an ambassador for your college. God bless her.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Best
Okay.
wishes for
Thank
her
you, sir.
exam.
Thank you.
Best wishes for her exam.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Aarti ma'am. I welcome you on behalf of
You-
Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. So Dr. Shakti, we can
Yes,
carry
sir.
on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So Ms. Arathi, you are ready?
All set, sir.
Yes. Okay. So thanks to the Vice Chancellor for being with us now. Welcome back to the international webinar on Every Child Matters, Reaching the Unreached, Strategies, Challenges and Success Stories. Once again, we thank the Vice Chancellor of Tamil Nadu Teacher Education University, Professor Panjanatham, and Dr. Sivashakti, the Coordinator, Center for Capacity Building Programs for School Teachers, TNTU, for their participation in the inaugural program. We welcome all of them again to this session. We're about to begin the first session of this webinar series. I'm extremely delighted to tell you that we are beginning the webinar with a speaker who has made a difference in the lives of thousands of children and many more thousands of teachers and parents. I admire her a lot for her passion towards reaching out to every child. I not met her. I only heard about her through my wife. She's also a teacher. And she said, if at all we get a chance, we should really listen to her. I used to listen to her video, messages. And when I just spoke to her, I put a message, she responded. When I spoke to her, I was really nervous because she's such a high profile person. And, me speaking to her, I felt too small, but I was humbled by the way that she responded. She spoke to me for about 20 minutes in the very first conversation. I was touched by her concern. And, I'm sure you're all going to waste time, but you should know something about her. Let me take a few minutes to really make an introduction. And personally, I admire her a lot for her passion towards reaching out to every child. As I said, I've not met her, but I've heard about her and I've seen her videos on YouTube and I want to listen to her again and again. And I'm sure she's going to touch all your hearts today. I don't think any participant here will go unmoved by her speech. Let me now have the privilege of introducing an amazing personality to you all. The resource person for today's session is Ms. Aarti C. Rajaratnam. In fact, she was kind enough to cancel another engagement today to be with us. Thank you, Ms. Aarti, for such a great gesture. We disturbed your regular schedule. She's a busy person. She is known as an innovative curriculum and education design consultant and has been instrumental in designing innovative and inclusive classrooms and curriculum models in India and abroad. She has set up several schools for children in the rural areas of India to cater to the needs of first-generation learners. She helped to rehabilitate over 7,500 children in the coastal areas of Tamil Nadu after the tsunami in 2004, along with the partner NGOs and teachers working in local schools. So when we had the first conversation, she was saying, you know that person? I said, he's my friend. I worked with him. I was in that village. Then I thought, my God, what is Aarti and, what kind of work she has been doing. So she also works closely with the Childline Nodal Agency to assess, counsel, and rehabilitate children in the juvenile justice court since 2015 in India. She is a consultant to the United States Consulate General in Chennai and High Court in Chennai to protect the rights and emotional well-being of children in family disputes and legal separation. Ms. Aarti's articles on psychology, education, and parenting are regularly published in journals, magazines, and all leading newspapers in Tamil and English. She has a special parenting segment called Chinnanchiru Ulagam, that is Small World, on the popular morning cafe show on Pudiyugam channel every day. Those of you are from Tamil Nadu, please tune in. She's an inspiring speaker and has been invited across the globe to share her insights on creative education and psychology. After many prestigious talks delivered by her, the ones at the University of Wisconsin, the Teachers Conference at the University of Abu Dhabi, 2 TEDx events, and the Leading Schools Initiative for School Leaders at the Indian Institute of Management stand out and require special mention. From 2013 to 2018, she reached over a mind-boggling 2,800 school and 49,000 teachers. Now the number must be much more than that. Across India through the teacher enrichment programs organized by Macmillan Publishers Limited. And just coming to the qualification, she just doesn't really think much about it, but we feel so proud to say also something about it. She has a master's in applied psychology with a specialization in clinical psychology, childhood and adolescent mental health from the University of Delhi. She is a master practitioner and trainer in neuro-linguistic programming, and also a trained master trainer in transactional analysis, dream analysis, and counseling. She also has, to her credit, certification in psychological first aid. These are many things new to many of us, from the Department of International Health, Bloomberg School of Public Health, Johns Hopkins University, Baltimore, USA. Certification in developing resilience in children exposed to trauma, disaster, and war from the University of Minnesota, USA. And certification in positive psychology from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, USA. Her mission in life is to redefine education systems all over the world to make holistic learning accessible to all children, irrespective of cultural boundaries, economic barriers, and limited mindsets. Miss Arati, probably I think this is a very short part of what I could find as an introduction to you. You're such an amazing personality. I extend you a very hearty welcome on behalf of TNTEU and Crossland College. We are all eager to listen to you. Please take over. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share. And I'm grateful to all of you for joining me. The profile is what I had to send because sir asked me for it. But I'm a student of my work and I learn every day. And that is the only reason that I'm able to share with you today. So I will continue to keep learning and I will continue to keep sharing. So there are a lot of distinguished academicians in my panel and also in the participation in the list of participants. Thank you so much for joining me. If I could have just one request, if all of you could not use the chat during the session, because one of the things that in the last 6 months, I've been doing a lot of research on how children learn online. And we have learned that one of the biggest distractions is the chat box. So if you could refrain from using this and especially sending feedback like good presentation, good speech, etc., because good feedback does not help anybody grow. It's always areas for change that needs to go into feedback. So if you could refrain from using the chat box, except when we're going to do the activities, it would really help all of us to learn, because one of the most important aspects of what we are going to do today is to be present and to be aware of what we are doing and being extremely mindful. Because this mindfulness is something that's missing in our classrooms. And I think one of the biggest challenges for every teacher is mindful awareness of the classroom. So my topic today, when sir asked me what we could do, I suggested the 7 emotional hurdles in the classroom. And so we'll go through this. I'm going to not use a presentation because I know that PowerPoint presentations reduce learning by 83%. And so whenever a PowerPoint presentation is used, whether in a direct face-to-face interaction or in an online class, we have reduced and compromised learning by 83%. So I will not use that. Instead, I will use experiences and insight, which are very, very important. Second aspect of what I would like for us to do, if you are sitting at home, sitting in your office, please have in front of you a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil, because we're going to do a couple of activities using that. Because Carl Jung says learning is experience, everything else is information. In today's information revolution, you can go on to Google and find information, 5 ways to help children, 7 ways to emotionally touch children, all these things. All of that will still remain information unless we internalize it and take it into our classrooms as activities. So what I will do today will be a set of activities that many of you can take back into your classrooms. So as much as possible, please stop using the chat, if I could request you to do that, because the moment you start typing, everybody is focusing away from this. And all of this that's going on the chat is your certificate from another session, etc., etc. This is becoming like Facebook. So please stop using the chat for now. I'd like you to be present in the session. And let's start with a simple story. And the reason I would like to use stories is because it has several levels of reflection. And this is a true incident that happened in Tamil Nadu, so I'm using it from here. So many, many years back, probably about 8 or 9 years back, what happened was there was a very famous industrialist, whose grandchild was turning 1 year old. So they wanted to celebrate the grandchild's birthday in a very grand way. And as you must know, since they were very, very affluent, very, very wealthy, they decided to invite so many people, including some movie stars, etc., and had it in a very, very famous five-star hotel. Everything was done. In fact, this was somewhere in South Tamil Nadu, but they had the cake brought in from Delhi by flight, by a special charter flight, because they wanted the best for the grandchild. Now, of course, you can imagine they left no stone unturned in creating such an important event for the first birthday of the child. So the cake cutting, as they would call it, was going to be at 5 o'clock. And at 4:50, the mother turned to the father of the baby and said, "Where is the child?" And the father looked at the mother and said, "I have no idea. I thought you were bringing the child." Now, this is exactly what happened. They took care of all the arrangements, including the cake that had to come from Delhi. But what they missed out was the most important person, the person whose birthday it was. The child was missing at his own first birthday. Every guest was there. All the extra expenses were taken care of, but the child was missing. And the reason I'm starting the session today is on policy. All of us have amazing vision statements for our children. We want no child to be left behind. We have unusual things that are written down, 21st century skills, we call them. We call it experiential learning. And all of these are discussed in webinars, discussed in conferences, but never really taken into every classroom. At most, what happens is one teacher who is touched deeply takes it to her classroom, but at the level of an entire school, at the level of grassroots level classrooms, I don't see any of these skills coming in. And this ensures that children have a lot of gaps in their emotional learning. We've even started calling it social emotional learning. And ultimately, what is missing is the child. On paper, everything is perfect. The researches are done repeatedly, but nothing goes and reaches the child. So today's session is for us to actually re-examine where we are missing out or what we are missing out in the life of the child. And this is one of the most important things that I would like for us to reflect. So since you have a piece of paper, I'd like for you to go through some of these activities with me. So what has really happened is we are talking about 21st century skills. We are talking about emotional intelligence. We are talking about so many of these new words, of course, the new education policy as well. We're talking about all this, many, many panel discussions. I think about 100 panel discussions in a week happen about these things. But what is really missing is that we are not looking at how it can genuinely be taken into every classroom and be able to touch every child. So this is where what I would like for us to understand is what we are really doing is getting our old methods, keeping our old methods, but trying to have new ideology to fix those old methods. And that may not happen. Just like sensory neural pathways, like neural pathways in the brain, if you really want to build something new, it has to be built new. It's not built on old pathways. And unless we forget these old pathways and build completely new pathways, there is no change that is going to impact the child. And I know my speech may come across as extremely strongly worded, but that's because I worked in the field and with more than 9 lakh children in the last few years. And so it's important for us to realize that at the theoretical level, many things sound very good, but at the practical level, we need to go back and see where we may be failing as educators. So going to the role of emotions. Now, this is where I would like you to use the chat. I'm going to put out some questions to you. So I would like for you to reflect and answer. So the first question I have for you, do we all have emotions? Of course, yes, we all have emotions. But my question to you, what role do emotions play in our life? And I'd like for you to very quickly use the chat and tell me what you think are the role of emotions in our life. And I'm waiting for some sensible answers because still people are giving me excellent presentation. I didn't get certificate from 26th and all that. Please think about what are the roles of emotion in our life, okay? And I'd like for you to think about what role emotions play in our life very quickly and type it out. And I'm going to wait for a couple of responses because, okay. And it's very surprising that most people have misunderstood emotions. And therefore, if you are not emotionally aware, your classroom is going to be filled with emotional hurdles. So I'm at least glad that you're giving me truthful answers. Please let me crash it down, because unless we understand the role of emotions in our life, we may not be able to touch the lives of a child. Okay. Emotions are okay. So if many of you can go through the chat, you can realize that there are very fancy answers that have come through. Let me sort of break a myth. Emotions are an integral part of what we are, and they are extremely important in our life. So those of you who given things like, it is not good, it is negative, etc. If you do not acknowledge the role of emotions in the classroom is going to be very, very sterile, and learning is going to be minimal. So I will, as a very, very quick request, please stop using the chat. If you typed out your answer, please wait, and let's go through a couple of discussions before we get back to the chat again. So the 5 roles that initially emotions play. The first role of emotion is a quick information processor. So what does an emotion do for you? It helps you to very quickly and evolutionarily process information. So I'll give you an example. If there is a snake here in my room, of course there isn't, but if there is a snake in my room, if I use the traditional rational part of the brain, which we train in our classrooms, the logical part of the brain, the logical part is going to look at the snake and say, okay, now is this a venomous snake, non-venomous snake? Is the snake at a distance that is going to bite me, or is it going to attack me? Is the snake angry or not angry? And so many discussions. By the time the rational mind makes sense of what the snake is going to do, and if the snake is dangerous for me, I will probably already be bitten, and if it was venomous, I would probably be dying. Now, very, very simply, an emotional reaction within me, an emotion within me, helps me to process information as fast as possible. So what the emotion will do, as soon as I look at the snake, it's going to say, snake, do something. It's only later on that it's going to say, no, it's not a venomous snake, etc. But it gives me the energy that is required to immediately process information and then take action. Now, as a teacher, as an educator, if I do not value emotion in my classroom, I'm going to miss out quite a lot. I may be able to benefit the child who's recalling information, memorizing information, but I will not be benefiting the child who's reflective, and the child who's introspective, and the child who's able to apply and innovate. So the first role of emotion is that the emotion is a quick information processor, and we do require it. Of course, how we use it is the secondary aspect, but I want you to understand the first aspect of emotion, which is quick information processing. The second aspect of emotion is that it influences every aspect of our life. It helps us to override thoughts at some point, and it also helps us to enhance our thoughts at some point. So for example, if you really liked something, the emotion helps you to amplify the situation. So if I like my maths teacher, it amplifies my ability to enjoy mathematics. If I like being in a classroom filled with students, it enhances my ability to be a part of the classroom, to experience a sense of belonging. And therefore, emotions help us to enhance and override. And this is a very important aspect. The third aspect, emotions motivate future behavior. So if I like something, naturally I will do it. If I dislike something, it will stop me from doing it. And that is an important aspect of emotions. Children don't rationally think, do I want to do this because of? Children say, it felt good, I want to do it again. I didn't like it, so I'm not going to do it. So when you are looking at No Child Left Behind, we need to understand that the emotional aspect is extremely important for us in helping the child within the class. The fourth role of emotion, which is that it enhances all forms of interpersonal interaction. Now, whenever you spend time with your friend, you notice that time passes by very, very soon, and you really enjoy that interaction. That's because the enhanced state of the interpersonal reaction or the interaction is what leads to that. Now, let me give you a simple example. If you take a child in the classroom, why do you like social studies? My ma'am is very nice, she's very kind. This is what the child is going to tell you. Only later on they will teach you, learn to give you a logical answer by saying, my ma'am is very intelligent and she gives us a lot of facts. Children go to facts because they know that you want to hear it. But if you take a young child, he or she is going to say, my ma'am is very kind, or my sir is very, very understanding, because emotions always enhance the quality of the interpersonal reaction. And if you look at many children, interpersonal interaction, many children have favorite subjects because of the favorite teacher. And I'm sure those of you who've taught in classrooms will understand the child loves you before they love the subject. Just like they hold a concept first in their hands and then in their head. So this is another important aspect of emotions. More recent study shows that emotions contribute towards the immune system. So the study of Candice Pert is what I would quote here. She talks about how when you have healthy emotions, when you're able to regulate healthy emotions, your immune system develops much better and you don't fall ill so much. And you'll see children who have emotional issues at home or in the classroom often have illness. And that's one of the challenges that we face in the classroom. But where I would like for us to focus, the sixth need is emotion motivates learning. Emotion motivates the quality of the learning. Both learning and the quality of the learning are enhanced by emotion. Because when I experience healthy emotions towards a subject or towards the teacher or towards the classroom, I am able to make more sense of the whole thing. And I am able to enhance my learning. And this is one of the most sincere aspects of emotion, which is why today's topic is the 7 hurdles that we face as teachers in the classroom. Am I making sense to all of you? And if yes, you just give me a raised hand so that I know that all of you have understood what we have discussed, or you could just give me a yes, because if we do not understand the role of emotions as teachers, we will continue to do logical teaching in the classroom, testing, etc., but we may not be able to reach the learner. And there are times, especially in classrooms, where we consider a child as a behaviorally inappropriate child. Actually, what could be happening is inability to regulate emotion. So that's the reason why I would like for us to be on the same page. So let's go to the next aspect. So I'm sure all of you have a piece of paper. So please have your piece of paper, because we're going to do it hands-on. See, unless we do something hands-on, it will never work. So my request, yes, I've got your answers. I've got your yes. So please take your piece of paper and a pen, because I'd like for you to write this down. See, we've become so used to technology and recording and taking photographs of slides that we have forgotten the natural art of writing. And if you realize, unless you hold something in your hands, you will never hold it in your head. And which is the reason I would like you to hold a piece of paper and a pen, because we need to hold this concept for life. And so the first need, and if I were to take it, I'm going to ask you to type out answers. But before that, please divide your paper into 7 columns. So please put your paper into 7 columns. You can draw them, you can fold them, that's fine. But have 7 columns, because we're going through the 7 areas, because we need to find solutions for all the 7 areas, right? So please divide your paper into 7 columns. The first column, and that I'm going to go through a specific pattern in my teaching. First, what is the need? Okay, what is the emotional need? Second, how does the individual, so if I have an emotional need, how will I meet that emotional need? I need to know that. Third, if that need is not met, what emotion will I experience? That will be the third. And the fourth aspect, how do we as educators or policymakers destroy that need? So we're going to go through this and then we'll look for solutions. So let's very quickly divide our page into 7. So the first need, in the first column, the need is security and safety. And as all of you know, the COVID situation has challenged our need for security and safety much more than ever before, right? So in fact, when the Vice Chancellor was speaking in his inaugural, he mentioned how we pray that the other person should not get corona because that will affect us. That's natural, because all of us want to feel safe and we want to feel secure. A child in the classroom, the primary need that he or she has is to feel safe and secure in the classroom. This is the primary need. If this need is not met, please forget your subject, your content, your connection, all of these things. This primary need, if it's not met, nothing else happens in the classroom. And this need, the child will always meet. Child, adult, it doesn't matter. The learner will always meet by avoiding something. The security need is always met by avoiding something. Okay, so let me give you a simple example. I'm somebody who never liked mathematics in school. There were many reasons why I didn't like it. So when I had to choose a subject for 11th and 12th standard, what I did was avoided mathematics. So I took a group which did not have maths in any way. Am I making sense to all of you? And this is something that all of us will do. So if I don't want to contract COVID because I'm feeling unsafe, I will avoid people, right? If I don't like a teacher because the teacher is always shouting at me, the teacher is always making me feel very useless, I will avoid that teacher. So if I do not like somebody, I will avoid that person. If the person is abusive, I will avoid the person. So in sexual abuse, for example, one of the first symptoms we use is this child avoiding that person, because if I'm avoiding that person, I am not feeling safe with that person. So the first need is safety and security, and a person meets that need by avoiding the situation, avoiding a person, avoiding a subject. What is the emotion the person will feel? And this is where I would like for you teachers to please put yourself in the position of a person who has avoided a subject or a person. When you avoid somebody, what is the emotion that you will feel? Please put it on the chat. What emotion do you feel when you avoid someone or something? Please think and answer, because I don't want some fancy answers. It's a very small word. Okay, excellent. One person mentioned fear, and that is exactly, and one of you has mentioned crying. Crying is the action, right? Crying is how I will express myself. But what am I feeling inside? When safety is not met, the emotion that I feel will always be fear. Okay, and many of you are very, very confused between what is an emotion and what is an expression, which is also why our classrooms suffer. So please understand, anything that I can see externally is an expression. So if I'm running away, if I'm hiding, if I'm crying, these are expressions. They are not emotions, they are expressions. But what I feel inside is the emotion. And the feeling, usually when safety is not met, is fear. So please understand, emotions will have three parts. The first part will be physiological. So when you feel fear, you will feel a lot of changes in the body. Second will always be the subjective experience, the story that I'm giving. And the third will be the action. So focus not on the action, but on the experience. And the actual emotion when security is affected or challenged is fear. So those of you who mentioned others, I noticed that there is a confusion. If security is not met, it is always fear that the person. How do I, as an educator, as a policymaker, destroy the security need? One, sending children too early to school. Two, setting age inappropriate activities. I'm not ready to write before 7, but I still want children to write at 2.5, and I consider that early learning, right? Third, I focus on the wrong set of skills. The child needs to be doing something else, learning something else at this time, but I'm focusing on memorizing the alphabet and the numbers. And the fourth, especially with adolescents, we keep pushing them into this entrance coaching kind of thing because we want them to always be studying. And that actually destroys the child's sense of security, because I'm constantly doing something that is not natural in my environment. If I were to give you a small example, and Tamil Nadu should be very familiar with these examples because we do have schools that cater to this kind of learning. What happened was, there was a doctor couple, they had a daughter, and when she finished her grade 10, they sent her away to one of these hostels, which were notorious rather, for training students for entrances. And this child, from morning 5 till about night 11 o'clock, without any social interaction, without any sport, without any balance in the brain, in spite of the school being called a 21st century school, I don't know what that means in that school, but in spite of having all that, this child was put in that school. Now, this was a child whose multiple intelligence profile shows us that she was extremely naturalistic. She was somebody who was very good with plants and animals and was very, very ready to do something in that field. But the parents wanted her to do medicine because both of them were doctors. Now, this child went into the school. First 3 months, she kept calling, "Amma, I'm feeling very, very scared. I'm having a lot of I'm homesick. Nobody is my friend. They're always giving tests here. They've put me in a section. They've divided us into A, B, C section. C is for the failures. I'm in that group. all of this. And the mother and father kept saying, you should be strong. This is how you have to live life. Life is never going to be fair. I'm giving all this advice to the child, and the child kept on communicating, please help me. I am not feeling okay. My safety and my security needs are not met. The parents did not listen. And about 3 months later, the child withdrew from the entire group. She stopped interacting with friends. She stopped going to class. She would always be locked up in her room. And then, of course, when the warden complained to the parents, they took her to a psychiatrist. The diagnosis of depression was given. And as soon as the diagnosis of depression was given, some medication was also given to the child, and the child was dulled down a little more. Now, what happened was there was no due process in the whole thing. Now, immediately, the teachers also started saying, okay, this child is not going to be able to write the exams this year. So the child was put through a lot more trauma through that period. And all that was required for this child was somebody to patiently listen to what was happening and to be able to help the child to feel safe and secure again. Instead of meeting the safety security need, everybody was trying to medicate the external symptoms, correct her external writing and reading and arithmetic and all of these areas, and we were not focusing on the internal process of the emotions. And this is where the first emotional hurdle comes. We do not understand that safety and security is something that is being challenged right from the kindergarten ages, right up to higher secondary, and probably even in higher education, where the person is feeling unsafe because the skills that have been set are often inappropriate neurologically and psychologically. So this is the first need. And I'm going to the second need. I know some of you have become extremely silent and thinking about students in your own class or your own classmates who have had similar experiences. Please remember that these things don't require immediate counseling as much as they require understanding from an empathetic teacher or parent. So that's the first. Shall we go to the second need? And I'd like you to go to the second column. I'd like you to go to the second column. I've not come to the solutions, but I'd like for you to just put these needs into columns. The second column is the second need. And as human beings, the second need for any human being is always joyfulness and playfulness. And those of you who are under stress will realize that the moment you connect to joyfulness and playfulness, it changes the whole thing. In fact, Columbia University had a beautiful study on the importance of laughter in human interaction. Laughter helps us to create the space for new learning. In fact, in the Buddhist tradition, they allow laughter to come in as a way of fitting in new learning. So laughter is such an important aspect. Playfulness is such an important aspect. And how do human beings meet the need for joyfulness and playfulness? Through spontaneity, through creativity, through fantasy, through imagination. And if you work with young children, you'll know they'll create all sorts of fantasy. They'll be playing teacher, and all of these things. They create that need in their brain because that is how the second need is met, which is joyfulness and playfulness. And if you want a technical name for it, it's called neoteny. Neoteny is the ability to remain childlike all through your life, because that way you adapt to new learning all through your life. So this joyfulness and playfulness is always met through spontaneity, creativity, fantasy, and imagination, which are very important skills for a learning brain. When this need is not met, guilt is what the child experiences. Why? Because when I do something and I'm immediately said, why did you do that? You were not supposed to do that. The child immediately feels guilty. So the child is playing teacher, and the teacher walks into the class and the child feels guilty that I shouldn't have been doing this, but I was spontaneously experiencing this. Or the child is not able to finish some work and they're feeling bad about it, and then there is a lot of guilt. Now, when guilt comes in, how does the education system, or how do we as educators push the child into this? Natural learning of the human brain is through experience and exploration, through fantasy, through creativity, through spontaneity. But we have replaced that by recall, by memorizing answers, and also by testing the child for what they can recall and not for what they know. I know it's very strongly worded, but if I want the second need to be met, which is joyfulness and playfulness, my classroom needs to be a space where the child can experience spontaneity and creativity. So please have the second column. The second column is the need of playfulness and joyfulness, and the emotion that the child feels if that is not met is guilt. And the second big hurdle is guilt. Guilt is to the human being what unforgiveness is to the soul. guilt diminishes my potential for learning. When I feel guilty, I start feeling unsettled inside me and I'm not able to proceed further. And you will see a lot of children, first guilt comes in and then they're unable to go on to the next set of learning. So if I have to ask you a question, you know, there are children in every classroom who ask a lot of questions. And because we feel we may not be able to finish the curriculum, we may not be able to finish this, we may not be able to finish that, we tell them, I'll tell you later, sit down quietly. But the child, the young child understands, my teacher doesn't like me, that's why she asked me to sit down, right? Or I can give you so many examples. I'll give you another example of a child. He's a spatial processor, which means his nervous system needs movement to be able to process information. I'm a spatial processor myself, so I know from experience. I think best when I move. So if you give me information, if you notice I move so much, my hands move. Ideally, I would be moving physically if this was not an online platform. There are people who learn best when they move. But this child also would do that. And the teacher called him hyperactive. He was immediately sent to an institution that was known for diagnosing and treating children. And the child was just put through some tests without trying to understand that he was a spatial processor. Just after the test, an intern saw the child, and then the doctor saw the child. They all signed off saying that he was hyperactive. Actually, he was an extremely intelligent child who was capable of learning, but unfortunately diagnosed as hyperactive and medicated. Now, this is the second way in which we destroy a learning brain in that class. Go to the third column. I know we've gone into very serious territory. Many of you are still introspecting on the children in your classroom, and if you're doing that, perfectly fine. The third need in the classroom, please move to the third column. The third need is esteem, validation, recognition. The third need is esteem, validation, recognition. And how will I meet this? I meet this need by exploring my environment. Previously, I was doing it either by avoiding, then by spontaneity. But now I start exploring. I go hands-on. I look for ways to do things. So now, for example, the people who have organized this webinar, a lot of hands-on doing, exploring has gone in. So, for example, when Robert Clive Sir called me, he was exploring the possibility of whether we could work together. Right? He probably also spoke to several other people because at some point, his own validation, recognition, esteem need gets met. And there's nothing wrong about meeting any of these needs. As human beings, there are people, like I know after the pandemic, there are some 1 million people who are putting up certificates, e-certificates every day on Facebook saying, I finished this, I finished this, I finished this. Because you are meeting a validation. You are meeting an esteem need. And children will also do this. Children will also do this. Ma'am, I know how to do this, ma'am. Let me answer this. So when children feel that they can contribute and explore, then that is how this need is met. If this need is not met, the emotion that the child experiences, and which is our third hurdle, it will be shame. The third hurdle that a child experiences is shame. And shame is one of the most difficult aspects of dealing with the human experience, because shame is something that's very hidden. And all through life, sometime I was shamed, I want to make it up. And I'll give you a personal example from my own life. My handwriting at that point, now of course it's a beautiful handwriting. When I was in UKG, my handwriting was hopeless. I was just learning to hold the pencil and write. And I was not particularly good with spelling as well at that time. And I have a twin brother who was in the same class. So you can imagine when you have a twin, there is so much of comparison and competition everywhere. But the person who would teach me would always use this statement, children of Satan have bad handwriting. And at that time, I did not know what Satan was. I did not know anything, but I just knew that my teacher did not like me and she was shaming me. The child may not understand the words, but they definitely understand what intention you have for them. So all through life, till I was able to integrate that experience emotionally, I always felt I was not good enough. And that was a very shameful experience. And because of that, I would go out of my way to do things and I would exhaust myself. I would fall ill because I was trying to integrate something that was pre-verbal, that was so far away into my past. Right? Many of you may have experiences like that when you were unfavorably compared with somebody. And as a result, you need to do so much more now. It is coming from that driving force called shame. I hope that makes sense to you. So I can give you a lot of examples. Recently, if you go online, they want to teach coding to children who are 7 years old, because if that happens, then Bill Gates will give them a job. All this kind of nonsense comes from this validation recognition need. As a parent, as a teacher, if your recognition, validation need is not met, the child also does not have those needs met. I hope I'm making sense to you. So, you need to understand nothing in nature blooms or blossoms all through the year. There will be some flowers that blossom only once in 12 years, and we look forward to those events. Please understand that the child, by being shamed, actually stops blossoming completely. That is the third need, and I hope I have that in your third column. We'll move to the fourth column, which is something that we talk about very often. The fourth column and the fourth need: love, compassion, connectedness, and kindness. They're all qualities of the heart, of a very loving heart. So love, compassion, connection, and kindness. How do we meet this need? And if you can put it on the chat, how do we meet this need for love, for compassion, for connection, and for kindness? I'll wait for a couple of answers. How do we meet that need? All of us have this need. We all want to feel loved. We all want to feel kindness, compassion. How do we meet that need? Respect. Please listen to the question and answer, because we are coming from a very cognitive space. Please come from a very emotional space, because it's very important. Please tell me, how do children meet that need, or how can I as an educator meet that need for the child? Yes, involvement. Motivation, not so much. Caring, yes. Empathy, yes. Understanding, yes. Acceptance, yes. Appreciation to an extent, but not too much. To be a mother, I would definitely disagree with that, because that means I will not set boundaries for the child. Feeling what the child wants, understanding, and that's empathy. Yes. Communication to an extent, yes. Kindness, showing, yes. And this words like being the second mother, being the mother to child, please stop using it, because that's the worst emotional need that is created, because the child has a mother at home. You need to be a teacher. Please remember your role. Don't keep playing multiple roles. Play your role as a teacher and meet those needs properly, right? Mutual respect, yes. Moral support, not so much, right? To be reachable, to be able to communicate with you, yes. So we tend to use all these words, but very specifically for this need, children approach this need through liking the teacher, by wanting to spend time with the teacher, by attaching with the teacher, by speaking well of the teacher. Because when I like somebody, I will do all of these things. Okay. And this need is also one need where I need to have very clear boundaries. If I don't have clear boundaries of how much I can give and how much I cannot, then the problem comes in. I know many young teachers will come and say, ma'am, I've always mingled with my students as a friend, but now they take me for granted. That's a sign that you did not set healthy boundaries. Then there is the other teacher who's stonewalled. No, ma'am, if I give them freedom, they're going to misuse my kindness. So I'm going to be very strict and I'm going to be very, very stern. So these two extremes actually destroy the whole being of the child. What really needs to be there is for the child to know that I'm the teacher, these are the rules, and these are the ways in which I will interact with you. I will give you freedom, I will give you all of this, I will give you the opportunity to connect with me, but at the same time, when it comes to the task, when it comes to certain things, this is how it's going to be. Otherwise, there will be manipulation. I can give you an example. What happened was, when I started my career, there was a child who would come and tell me that her mother died when she was very young and all that. And I used to go out the second mother story. I also fell for it. So I also reached out to the child and all that. And slowly, whenever she would not make a submission, whenever she would not do her work, she would use that card. This is where boundaries are violated. So in a very healthy relationship, you need to realize that there are healthy boundaries, and you need to be able to maintain your role as a teacher and work with the child. If this need is not met, if the connection need is not met, if there are no healthy boundaries, if there is inconsistency in my work with the child, the experience the child has is of grief. The emotion they feel is grief and sadness. And this is the fourth hurdle in the classroom, starting with fear, moving to guilt, shame, and now this becomes grief and sadness. And the moment the child starts feeling sad, sadness, as you know, limits us greatly. Sadness limits our ability to learn. Sadness limits our way to look at the world. And when we keep talking about depression being the worst killer in the world, depression is not just sadness. There are other things involved in depression, but sadness starts off the process of depression, because what happens is I'm grieving so deeply inside me, I'm not able to see the positives in my life. And this is what moves into very, very dangerous emotional territory over a period of time. And how do we do this? How do we do this as educators? How do we create this cutting off of connection? One, by testing and standardizing. What happens is when I tell a child that this is what I expect from you, and if I don't see these expectations met, then you're not good enough. So the moment I say you're not good enough, I have already created a disparity in the relationship. I have already destroyed the attachment and the connection the child can feel with me. The moment this is broken, the child starts feeling grief, just like, being abandoned in a family, or just like feeling rejected in a relationship, when the child is constantly tested. And unfortunately, in some of the schools that I do visit, I see children repeatedly tested. So I did one test, I didn't do well, so I'm tested again. Instead of actually being taught again, I'm tested again. So when I'm not taught, the connection need is cut off. I hope I'm making sense to all of you. So we'll move to the example that I have for you. So there was a very young child. He was about 8 years old, a wonderful child, because he was one of those extremely kind, loving person who would go and help everybody. So if the teacher was having difficulty carrying some books, he said, ma'am, let me carry it for you. If a classmate was not able to finish his work, he would help him to finish it. If there was somebody who was not well, he'll be the one who will take the child to the school nurse. This was a wonderfully altruistic, kind child. However, he was an average student, meaning, he would score average marks. He was never the topper in the class, never the 90, 95. So one year he had a teacher who believed that a good student means somebody who is 98, 99. And she completely sidelined this child, who was extremely helpful and empathetic. Over a period, the child started feeling he was not good enough, experienced a lot of grief. And then his natural ability to help people also went into a confusion. And then for him to find himself, it was almost 3 or 4 years, right? Grief becomes a very, very, very dangerous aspect, or a very major hurdle within our classrooms. So I hope you've got the 4 needs. We'll go to the next one. And the next one, in your 5th column, the 5th need that the child experiences is truth, the need for the truth. All of us as human beings require the truth. And when this need is not met, that's when I fall prey for all this fake news that's coming on media. When I do not know how to discern the truth, then I fall for fake news, right? So how does a person meet the truth need? I meet it by curiosity, by seeking, constant seeking, by questioning and reasoning. And if you look at the current education system, these 4 needs are rarely met. We say, in 21st century skills, we say a lot of things, but if you actually ask it, a child who questions too much, in Tamil, they'll say, Mundri kotta madari, don't jump out like that cashew nut that comes out of the fruit, right? Or, you'll say, don't be too smart, don't be over smart. These kind of traditional practices in the traditional classroom actually destroy this need or the seeking for truth. So the child says, anyway, they don't want to tell me the truth, I might as well just pretend to know everything. And then what happens, the need, when it's not met, the emotion that is not met, I become inauthentic. Meaning, I will put on a mask to like you, for you to like me. Inauthenticity comes in. So what happens is I will fake it till I make it. Meaning, like today, I'm doing like a session for a group of teachers. If I want to fake it, I can give you some fancy things about how great we are as teachers, but it'll never be a solution, right? We have to call a spade sometimes, to be authentic, to be able to find solutions together. Nobody is making a mistake, but we're not doing the right thing either, right? Sometimes it's because of ignorance, sometimes because we don't know what is the truth. So how do we destroy this? How do we destroy the seeking for truth? By letting children know that grades are a true measure of your potential, which is unfair. Grades, marks, all these remarks that we make at the end of the term are never a sign of true potential. We give remarks like can do better. Do you think a child who can do better will purposely underplay his or her skills to get a remark from you? If I can do better, I would have done it already. I hope I'm making sense to all of you. Work harder. I never said work smarter, work more intelligently, work with a little more support, work with insight. And that is the journey towards the truth. So here I can give you a lot of very common examples. The Indian child doing engineering without knowing why he's doing engineering. After finishing engineering, he realizes, oh, this is not my cup of tea. I'm going to be mediocre if I'm going to be an engineering student or an engineer. I'm sure that many of you have faced students who did something and who came into teacher training because they said, ma'am, I think I did engineering, I was not good. I think now my passion is to work with children. I want to make a difference. And I'm sure you've seen a lot of those children who have come out. And I know people who've done medicine and then went into construction, who have done so many courses and have moved out because the search for the truth led them to believe this is not my field, this is not my area. You go to the sixth need. By now, many of you are thinking about students in your class, and you are able to put them into the 6 categories, or the 5 categories I've discussed. The sixth need is insight, meaning, and purpose. Okay? All of us probably wake up someday and say, what is my meaning in life? What is it I'm supposed to do? What is the purpose? And we call it the midlife crisis sometimes, but even before the midlife crisis, everybody has a search for purpose. When your purpose is not met, you do experience what you call the existential crisis. Now, this need is met by introspection and reflection. I need to go back inside. I can go and ask, ma'am, tell me what is my purpose in life. Nobody else can tell you what your purpose is, what your meaning is, what your skill is, what your difference, what the difference you need to make is. Nobody else can tell you but yourself. And that skill of introspection and reflection is what we do to be able to find that. If this need is not met, we pursue the wrong goals. We are busy, but not productive. I've done a lot of work, but I'm not productive. I'm always under stress because I'm pursuing the wrong goal. And how do we destroy this? This is destroyed by letting children know that education is for employability. The biggest uninsightful truth of the world is education is for employability. That came from the Industrial Revolution. Education is to make us better human beings, to be able to contribute. In the Arthashastra, very beautifully, Chanakya talks about what is your wealth. Identify your wealth first. What is your wealth? What is your meaning? What is it that you're supposed to give the world? Second, how will you grow that wealth? What practices would you indulge in every day to grow that wealth? Third, what will you do to sustain that wealth? And wealth is not money. Wealth is your purpose, your meaning, your contribution to the world. Fourth, how will you share that wealth? Because if you do not share your wealth, the wealth is not wealth anymore. I hope I'm making sense to all of you. The seventh need on the 7th column, at a higher level, what is my contribution to the world? I do this by striving, by reaching, and by growth. And if this need is not met, I go into a depression-like state, which we call the existential crisis. I no longer find life meaningful. I have a burnout and I want to stop. And you will see many people after a certain point of having done something, running behind. So especially the IT field, you will see a lot of people, pursuing these goals and all those things and then saying, no, but I've earned all this money. It doesn't make any sense to me. This is where our definitions of success and failure, we put polarities. What you do is always more important than what you are or who you are. So that's the reverse. I need to be more. These are the needs that we need to address in the classroom. So I've sort of gone through this very, very briefly, and I'm going to go into solutions, because without solutions, see, these problems we all know. I've just put it into a framework. What I would like for us to do is the solutions. Okay. So what I would like you to do, we're going to do a small activity, because I've spoken for 1 hour almost. And when someone has spoken for 1 hour, the brain tends to switch off, right? We call it mind wandering. Mind wandering is the default mode of the brain, which is 50 to 80% of the brain's function. It will start mind wandering. So we'll need to do some physical activity, right? So let's switch on our videos. Those of you who are here, those of you I can see, please switch on your videos so that we can do the physical activity, right? Because learning is experience, like I said. Okay, I'll wait for you to open out your videos. Okay, right. So can we all hold an object? So if you can switch on your videos and please hold an object. Okay, Any object like a pen or something. Don't hold your phone or something that can break. Hold a pen. I have this fancy thing here because I always teach it. Okay. The others, can I please have your videos on? I'd like to see more people. Okay. Right. So, right. Because we get angry if our students switch off their videos, but I'd like for us to switch on our videos. Right. So the first set of emotions. So there are 4 types of emotions that cause us problems, right? Now, when we say there are 7 hurdles, I need to understand as a teacher, what must I do to change this? So the first set of emotions that are troublesome, please hold this object. And I hope you're not holding a dumbbell and all that. Hold something very light. Okay. And what I want you to do is to hold it up like this. So stretch a light object like a pen, hold it up like this. And I hope all of you can see what I'm doing. So hold it up like this, a light object, not a dumbbell and all, nothing heavy, nothing breakable. And after a couple of seconds, if you notice, a little bit of tension starts building on the shoulder. Okay. Some of you are already probably cursing me, saying she's going to give me neck pain today, but please curse me, it's fine, because I need us to understand emotions, because unless we understand the emotions at the physical level, we'll never understand it. Now, all of you are holding this, and now the whole hand starts feeling very weak, right? After a point, there will be pain. So the first set of emotions that trouble us are emotions like achievement, success, winning, because what does, once I have won, I need to hold up that. And that is the most difficult set. Look at all these famous actors committing suicide. They have seen some level of success. Next movie does not do well. Immediately, I start experiencing this pain. The first set of emotions in the classroom that are troublesome are for the child who is doing well. Because if I've scored 95 yesterday, today I have to put up a performance which will get me at least 96. Please put your hands down. I know you're cursing me for your hands hurting. Apologies. But the first set of emotions I wanted you to know are the emotions that I have to uphold. So if I've got a name that I'm a loving person, I have to always be a loving person. If I've got a thing that I'm a successful person, I have to always hold it up. That holding up is the first set of emotions that are dangerous. And as teachers, we need to understand everybody will be changing. There will be a dynamism in what the child feels. I cannot expect the child to always be the same. That meets, or rather destroys, all the 7 needs that I mentioned. Second set of emotions, please, in my session, you get a free workout also. You're going to work on the abdominal muscles. So take that same object, bend down, and I'll tell you what to do before you do it. Don't worry. Bend down and with the object, touch your big toe. If you have a bad back and all, don't do it. But I'm sure as teachers, you can't afford to have a bad back. So bend down and touch your big toe with the object. We're going to do this for 2-3 seconds and then come up. And if you notice, when you can come up now. You can come up now. Now, these are the second set of emotions. The second set of emotions like grief, guilt, shame, which will pull us down so much, we forget that there is so much. I'm looking down at my big toe. I've forgotten what life is about. Are you all with me? And I hope you understand what I'm saying. The second set of emotions, so this is the first set that is dangerous. The second set, it takes away my focus from what I can do. And it makes me focus on that one incident. My teacher called me an idiot. I didn't do well in that test, and I'm always looking down. Now, these are the children that are pushed to suicide. Right? Because we've not built the skills for helping them come out. We teach them how to memorize answers, but we never teach them how to regulate emotion. I'm not justifying their action, but I'm saying that culturally, we have not really met those needs. Shall we do the third? For the third activity, you don't need the object. Keep your hands free. All of you are in your house or in your office and you know your environment very well, right? So what I want you to do, I'm going to give you 10 seconds, right? I'm going to give you 10 seconds. You're going to look around you and I will name a color. Okay. Before your 10 seconds start, I will name a color. You will look around you and mentally register at least 10 objects in that color. Or if you don't have 10 objects in that color, as many objects in that color as you can. And then at the end of 10 seconds, I will tell you what we're doing, the second step of the activity. Ready? So you look around you and you are going to register objects in red. mentally register how many objects in red around you. Stop. Stop, stop, stop. Now, how many blue objects did you see? Now, when I ask you this, you're like, oh, I was looking for red. I didn't see blue. This is the third set of emotions. When I'm looking for something, I miss out everything else. So when I'm looking at a child, he's not studying maths, he's not doing this, he's having a behavior problem. I've forgotten all these amazing things the child can do. These are the third sets of hurdles in the classroom. The fourth, and so those who didn't even listen to the question are typing the number of objects, right? That is the third level of dysfunction, dysregulation. Please focus. I was asking you to focus on one color and look at something else. And so this is what happens in the classroom as well. I'm focusing on the problem and I've forgotten the solution and I've forgotten what was asked. What was the real problem, right? That's the third level of problem. Fourth level, please, we need the object again, the pen or the pencil. And I'm sure there's laughter. The laughter is going to help you assimilate, and I'm glad with that, right? So the Columbia University study again. Now, please hold the object like this. Now, what I will do, so just hold it gently. And I'm going to say a couple of sentences. Every time there is a number that is mentioned, every time I mention a number in my talk, and I'm not going to tell you how many times, you will hold it a little tighter. Every time I mention a number, you'll hold it tighter and tighter and tighter. Is this clear? So I'm going to mention numbers many, many times. So this morning I woke up at 3 as usual, and I spent about 4 hours reading up because I wanted to be completely prepared for today's session, which sir said will be at 11 o'clock. I decided to come online at 10:45. And when I came on online at 10:45, I looked at about 12 panel members, and there was a beautiful talk by the Vice Chancellor, who seems to be a very visionary leader and with many years of experience. I'm guessing that he has more than 40 years of experience. Now, as I kept saying numbers, you went tighter, tighter, tighter. Which part of the body is experiencing pain? The hands, right? Now hold it tight. I haven't asked you to let it go, right? Now you hold it tighter, hold it tighter, hold it tighter, and it's causing you pain. Nothing happened to the object, nothing happened to me, right? Now release it, let it go. Does this feel good? Yes. And this is the emotional trigger that children feel. Every time the teacher says, why didn't you study? Why have you not done this? The child is holding more and more pressure in the mind. At one point, they don't know how to let go. I don't know that the number is the trigger. Now I told you, today I told you number is the trigger. But as a teacher, I don't know what the trigger for the child is. Is it the way I am asking questions? Is it the way I am testing? What is the trigger? The child only knows. I don't know as a teacher. And we cause pain, we cause hurdles without our knowledge. So our aim is to help children understand these emotions. So I'm going to go through a very quick 5-step solution model, and then we'll open it out to questions because I want it to be practical. Whatever I'm teaching today is something that has happened in the classroom, nothing theoretical. Theory you can find in any textbook. This is from the classroom, so I'd like for you to use it. So the first, before I work with the child, my first competency is self-awareness. As a teacher, if I don't know myself, what is my confidence? What are the things I'm really good at? What is my competency, or what are the things that I do fairly well but still need mastery? And what are my capabilities? Things I want to learn but I'm not yet mastered. So we call it the 3 C's. What are my confidences? What are my competencies? And what are my capabilities? As a teacher, if I don't know these 3, if I don't know myself, I will never be able to identify it in my child. Because if I don't understand what is mastery and what is an evolving skill, I will never see it in the child. I will only see the child as a success or a failure. So the first competency I need as a teacher is self-awareness of my own confidence, competency, and capability. And this is the 3 C's which you can do with children periodically in the classroom. You can ask them in the beginning of the year, what was it you were confident about? What were your competencies and what were you capable of? Has it evolved in 3 years or in 3 months or in 6 months, whatever? Helping yourself move forward. The second competency is even more important. First is self-awareness. Second is emotional awareness or accurate emotional perception. Emotional awareness or accurate emotional perception. What does that mean? I need to know what I'm feeling. Okay. And I will give you an example. Somebody comes and shouts at you. Okay. You feel very uncomfortable. What are you feeling? I don't know, ma'am. In Tamil, the word will be I'm feeling something, but I don't know what it is. Right? We call it alexithymia. So I don't know the name of what I'm feeling, but I know I'm feeling bad. I'm not feeling okay. I'm not feeling balanced. Alexithymic people are more, because we never teach children to label their emotions. The moment you label an emotion, the impact of the emotion goes down by 40%. Then regulation becomes easier. But the second is emotional perception, where I need to know. So every emotion is good. In the beginning, when I asked you, are emotions good, etc., many of you said emotions are bad. Emotions are actually very healthy, provided you know what they are, why they've come. Anger, for example, is one of the most beautiful emotions to have. Of course, going and hitting somebody in anger is not right. But anger comes when I want to change something in my life, but I need to focus on the change and not the trigger. I'm focusing on the trigger, I'm not focusing on the change. Jealousy, again, a very beautiful emotion, because it comes when I want to reach some goals and somebody else is reaching them. It comes to say, take care of yourself, prioritize yourself. Guilt, for example, comes because I want to make amends. I've hurt somebody. My mind is saying, you have hurt someone. It's time to make amends. Every emotion is beautiful, provided you know. And if you want, I can give you the list of emotions. Loneliness, for example, loneliness comes when I want to connect with other people, but I've built a castle around me, a wall around me. I don't want to interact with anyone. Or for that matter, fear teaches me to protect myself. So every emotion has a beautiful function, but I need to know how to regulate it. No emotion stays in the brain for more than 1 minute and 23 seconds, about 1.5 minutes at the most. We keep building stories around it, increasing the emotional overload. I hope I'm making sense to all of you. We'll talk about emotional regulation if you're interested in the end. The third and the most important skill, and I'm saying most important for each competency because each one builds on our experience with the child. The third is empathy. And by empathy, you know, all this nonsense, definitions, feeling another person's emotions without knowing what it means. Empathy is the ability to understand another person's emotion, is what the definitions say. But there are 3 types of empathy which we need to understand. The first empathy does not really help much. We call it cognitive empathy, where as a teacher, I know what you are feeling. I know what you're feeling, but I don't understand what you're feeling. So the child is feeling scared. Child is feeling shame. Child is feeling anger. I know, but I don't feel. This kind of teacher rarely makes an impact on the child. This is not a very well-liked teacher because I know I'm logical, I'm rational, but I'm not empathetic. The second kind of empathy is emotional empathy. The teacher who goes and gets entangled in the child's mess. The child is feeling guilt. I'm also feeling guilt. I'm also going there. I'm playing this mother role. No, that's without the boundaries. I'm messing up the whole empathy process. When you feel empathy, the real empathy that we need to feel is what we call compassionate empathy. Compassionate empathy is knowing, feeling, experiencing, and moving to action. I hope that makes sense to you. The compassionate empathy, as a teacher, as an educator, I need to develop it first in myself, my own emotions in the classroom with my children, and more importantly, with my family. Many teachers are very good in one sphere, in the family or in the school. But when you're able to be authentic, experience this empathy in all situations, that's when you will be able to attune to the child. The next skill, be in the present moment. Now, if I'm taking the session, so when Robert Clive sir introduced, I did cancel another session to be able to take this session, but I did it because I wanted to. And I apologize to the other people. And now when I'm here, I'm focusing only on the session, on what the responses are and everything. In fact, that's the reason I told you don't use the chat, because it can be very distracting. I focus only on the session. Present moment awareness means free from the previous moment, free from the next moment, in this moment completely. When I'm able to do that with a child, when I'm able to do that with myself, then I'm able to solve the problem and move in compassion, helping the student. Many times as teachers, we keep taking their past the entire file of whatever they did bad, what our colleagues told us, etc., etc. And all these influences color the perception of what we will do as an action for the child. Please, whenever there is a problem that you're dealing with the child, deal only with that problem. In a marriage, sometimes when husband and wife are fighting, they'll remember all the files. No, she did this, she did this, she did that, he did this, he did this, he did this. And then the fight escalates. But when you fight only for that issue, usually it leads to a solution. Similarly, when you work with students, please focus only on that issue. Right? Then I will give you a very, very simple example to go through this. So there was a student who was considered to be very, very potential as a candidate for the state rank from the school for the 12th standard. They kept pushing her. And at one point she had a burnout. Say around June or July, she had a burnout because she was no longer able to memorize the answers and write every day and all of those things. So she had a problem. So immediately, the same teachers who were there, they said, don't worry, hereafter, don't take any test. You don't have to come to school. Now, what happened? It worsened the whole situation because the child thought, now nobody wants me. The child felt very abandoned and neglected because empathetically, nobody responded. People were trying to fix the external for her, trying to say, don't write the test, don't do this. What was the child feeling? The child was feeling a lot of fear. And unless we deal with the emotional aspect, we will only be doing solutions outside, which never help the child. It becomes a bigger hurdle because the child feels nobody validates me. The child needed fear to be able to communicate that I'm finding it difficult. It's overwhelming. So then what we needed to do is to bring in a little bit of playfulness. Say, okay, let's relax it a little bit, but let's take the test anyway, right? So gently helping the child find her own resources. So this is where I'm going to suggest the 4 R's, and then I'll open it out to questions. The 4 R's, very simple. Whenever you are working with emotion, first, recognize. The first R is recognition. Recognize what needs change, what needs to be retained. Both have to be recognized. Very often we are able to find out what needs change, but we also need to know what must I retain. So for this child, I need to retain her ability to learn. I can't just say, stop learning, stop taking tests. That's her skill. She's feeling fear. I address the fear, but I don't give up on the skills. So recognize what needs change, what needs to be retained. The second R, very important, resource. Resource means what must I learn and develop? What must the other person learn and develop to make this a better situation or a better, more productive situation? And this can be internal skills, external skills, both are required. The third R is, so first is recognize, the second is resource. The third, most important, regulate. So we never control emotion, we always regulate emotion. Regulate means let it come, hold it gently, non-judgmentally, see what it's telling you and let it go. Ramana Maharishi used to say, allow them to go as passing clouds, let them just move. Don't let them bring rain. Similarly, help the child to regulate thoughts, actions, and emotions. You also need to work on thoughts, actions, and emotions. When you're able to regulate the 3, then finding solutions for your 7 columns becomes very, very easy. And the 4th is relate skillfully. Relate to the person as though you would with the most compassionate heart possible. When we use this, we are all familiar with the 3 R's, reading, writing, arithmetic, we've been taught that. But psychologically, I have 3 R's that can be developed if we address it this way. The 3 R's, first, reflection. I need to get the child to reflect. I need to reflect as a teacher. I need to model that reflection for the child. The second R, I build healthy relationships, because as human beings, we are relational beings, and it's never in the content, it's always in the connection. Any classroom thrives because of the connection, never the content. You may be a subject expert, but the most important subject in your class is the child. So the second R is relationships. If reflection and relationships are built, then the third R emerges naturally, which is resilience. And resilience means being able to bounce back, being able to build, being able to adapt to change. With that, I'll stop. We have about 10 minutes for questions. If there are questions, you could put them out and I can answer. If there are no questions, it means everything was understood.
No.
Panelist participants, plus please unmute.
There are questions.
Yes.
Yes, I know how to respond. I think the energy level that you have, my God, it's
I took you inwards.
20 minutes, it's a
Yes.
marathon. Generally, people say, PPT presentation, it's a fallacy that, PPT is needed to make it interesting. My God, I didn't take a glue out of the screen. You're so amazing, mesmerizing. So
Thank you.
what you said, 83% learning, it stops 100% correct. I think I myself will correct it. Thank you so much, Arti,
Thank
for
you.
that lesson. I do that, myself. So I think you're proved, it is even another 1 hour you speak also, it wouldn't be boring. So definitely we take that lesson. I
Right.
think you have
We can
kept us.
take the questions if there are. So
Yes,
Yeah,
I'll
ma'am.
open
there
the
Yes,
are,
ma'am.
Q&A.
there
Yeah.
are. Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
I'll yeah, take a few
If you could just read
questions.
it out, I could answer.
Yes,
Ma'am.
yes, yes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So I think, Dr. Shakti, will you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. Yes, ma'am, please.
Yeah.
From Selva Ramesh,
Yes.
how to undertake anger in the workplace?
Okay. Anger, like I said, is a beautiful emotion because it's a change emotion. And when I say change emotion, see, all of us have had angry parents or teachers, so we believe anger can be expressed in any way, any like my father also, a very short tempered man, so my mother would always say, appa is angry, don't go and trouble him now. So anger has become a form of communication, unfortunately. How do we deal with anger? Whenever anger comes, pause and ask yourself, what would you like to change in this situation? Okay, now let's assume that I was taking a class. I'll give you the example. So I was taking a class online on Zoom for a group of teenagers, and teenagers sometimes can be very challenging in the online class. They will just put themselves on mute, take off the video, and they'll be doing their own thing. Now this particular child kept on troubling the group. She wanted some attention from all of us. So what she did was, in the private chat, she kept telling me, you're a nonsense teacher, you don't know anything, you're not a psychologist. She kept shaming me right through. Normally what would have happened if this was her regular teacher? The teacher would have said stop it, or shamed the child or something, and then told her to go away. Now I was not reacting to this child at all. I realized that this child wants a particular response from me and I'm not going to give it. Of course I was feeling a little angry because I had spent a lot of time preparing for the session. Now, what did I want to change in this situation? I wanted to be respected by the student. So at one point, when the shaming had become very bad, I paused and I said, students, there may be some of you, I didn't bring her name or anything. I said, there may be some of you who don't want to be part of this session. So if you'd like to log off, please log off so that the others can participate. Now she got very angry because, I did not give her the attention, but I also addressed the problem. So then she started unmuting herself and playing some loud Tamil cinema music so that nobody could hear what I was speaking. Now, at this point, I had anger and I knew that I did not want this child in my class. So I just requested the person who was hosting, saying, could you please deny access to the student? And then what I did was continued the session, finished the session, and then personally requested for the school to give me the address or the number of the child. And I spoke to her personally and I asked her how I could help her. Now, the moment that happened, the child also realized that this person is not going to shame me. Just because I've been shamed in the past, I don't need shame now to get attention. So how do you deal with anger? What would I like to change? I definitely like to support the child, but at the same time, I don't want to shame the child. So please remember that the direction can change overnight. Destination we will reach over a period of time. So every time you feel angry, feel more mindful of what you would like to change, and then look at what would be the most mindful way of dealing with it. It takes time because it's a natural response. Like all of us jump into anger just like that. But when we start becoming mindfully, taking that mindful pause and looking at what we'd like to change, the strategies come in. And always the best way to start is the physiological. So, just breathing, taking a sip of water, all these help to calm down the physiological aspect of the emotion so that we're able to move more into a mindful way of dealing with it. So I hope I answered that question.
Yes, ma'am. 1 minute. Yes, Sharmila, unmute yourself.
Yes.
Sharmila.
Yes.
Yeah,
Hello.
yes.
Yes,
Good
ma'am. Tell me.
afternoon,
Good
everyone.
afternoon. Yes, ma'am. Tell me.
Madam, I have one question.
Yes.
Like, I see even after getting so much of education in professional places, even PhD degree holder don't know how to interact. I mean, many a time I have seen people at holding very prestigious position and responsible position and neglecting people like anything, shaming and doing all these things.
Right.
So how to tackle such type of persons?
And it's a beautiful question, ma'am, because our qualifications don't make us.
Yeah, I understand that.
Makes us, right?
Intelligence
So I
has
know,
nothing to do
right.
with emotional regulation
Right.
and all.
Right. So somewhere, ma'am, in the system itself, we need to bring in emotional awareness and emotional regulation, emotional intelligence as very important competencies. But I'll give you a small rule of thumb. Anybody who's hurting inside will hurt you. Hurt people hurt people. That's the logic that I use. So very often when somebody is behaving that way, I would question myself, how important is this reaction, or how important is this relationship? Now I'm just taking Shivashakti ma'am as an example because she's the only person who has her video on. Let's assume ma'am and I have had a fight. Okay. And ma'am has shamed me. Now the thing is, now how important is this relationship? Now, if I'm not going to see ma'am again, ever again after this, I wouldn't even take it seriously. After the session, I would just go back and work on my emotions and realize that, this is something that happened, it triggered off, and I'm not going to deal with it. But of course, if this relationship is important, what I would do is to calm down, not take the same emotional state. I mean, if I'm feeling angry, sad, etc., in the same state, I will not deal with her. Wait for about a day and let her know in advance, ma'am, I'd like 5 minutes of your time. I'd like to discuss something. Please let the other person also prepare. And it's very important that she also has time to prepare for this. And I'd like to discuss this. And once that is done, both of you have a mindful discussion about how to deal with this and come about a solution. Now, if this is a person who's not going to be responsive, if she is not going to be responsive at all, I need to realize that this is a situation where I need to build my own resilience and my own thing. So I cannot change her. The only change that I can bring about is in myself. So please understand, is this important? Should I work on it? Otherwise go. So there are 3 rules I use. In life, there will be situations. You will have three options. Do you want to fix it? Do you want to adjust with it? Or do you want to walk away from it? Decide which one. Based on that, find your solution.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Sure.
Wonderful answer.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, ma'am. This is Revati.
Yes. I can hear you. Please.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, I have a question, ma'am. Like some situations we might feel mentally stuck, maybe because of depression or some other stress or tension.
Yeah.
But
You're
in
giving
that
me the
scenario,
logical
how
answer.
can we
Yeah.
get ourselves lively in the present? How can we make ourselves?
Revati, can I give you a simple answer? Now, when
Yes.
you're feeling stuck,
Okay.
there is a conflict between what I want and what is happening.
Right.
Otherwise, there is no stuckness. Okay,
Yes,
please
ma'am.
understand this, underline this.
Yes.
So logically, I give a narrative. Maybe it's because of depression. Maybe it's because of this. Maybe it's because of that.
Right.
Usually, when I feel stuck, letting go helps. What is it that this situation really needs? So it's not a problem to be fixed. It's something to be accepted. This stuckness comes because, for example, let's assume that I want a particular course. I want to do only this course. Now, if I don't get it, I feel emotionally stuck because I'm saying, no, I'm not going to look at any other option. I want only this.
Right.
Right. Now, if I let go and say, okay, I'm not getting this, what are my other options? Directions open, doors open. Right. So that would usually be the way to work with it. I hope I answered that question.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Perfectly right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
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 Hello, I am Vishnupriya from Chennai, ma'am.
Yes, Vishnupriya.
Ma'am, every time I'm handling a particular type of situation, I can face like a cryness emotion. That is, if I was a child, please go and speak with in front of mic some words, you give some feedback like that. Right now I'll be having like the tough cryness towards in between a lot of people, crowdy people. Like, how can I deal with the emotion of this cryness?
Crying
how
is
can
the expression, Vishnupriya. Wait, listen. Crying is the expression, okay? But what you're feeling inside is fear. Okay?
Yes.
Identify the emotion to be able to change. So you can just mute yourself because I think there's a disturbance in the audio. So I'll answer. Now, very often we focus on the external, which is what I'm expressing instead of what I'm feeling. If you keep trying to, correct what you're expressing and not what you're feeling, it'll never change. So it is like, I'm looking at myself in the mirror. My face is dirty, but I'm cleaning the mirror. It'll never work, right? If my face is dirty, I have to wash my face. So similarly, if I'm experiencing fear, I need to deal with the fear. So you are crying because the fear is overwhelming. Fear is a beautiful emotion because it's trying to protect you. Sometime in the past, you were not okay with standing in the stage, or you imagined something. So one thing is, again, ask, do you want to fix it? Do you want to walk away from it? Do you want to adjust with it? So based on that, if you want to fix it, one of the things is to do it in a smaller group, like a presentation, etc., and see if you're able to overcome the fear. When you're able to overcome the fear, it becomes much easier for you to move away from that crying as a response, because all of this is protective in nature. It's protecting your emotion. Instead of pushing yourself, sometimes it may be important to address the emotion that you're feeling. Instead of saying, no, I'm courageous, I'll go and do this. Deal with the fear and say, let's try it in a smaller group. Let's try it for a smaller time. Chunk it down. We call it chunking. So chunk it down so that you're able to do it. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much.
Aarti, if you don't mind, there are a few questions from the YouTube viewers. Can we
Okay, sir,
just
I can definitely take
listen?
it. I
think
have
we
time
shouldn't
as
miss.
long as
Yeah.
not a
We
problem.
shouldn't miss them out. I feel.
Sure.
Dr. Shakti, I think we'll just take a few
Yes.
questions. Mr. Girish, can you just raise those questions that are available?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Mr. Girish?
Okay, good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Please tell
So
me.
can I hear?
Yeah,
So there's
yeah,
one
yes.
question
Yes.
which is asked by Meera Swami. The question is like this, ma'am. How to try to avoid the system of grades and marks in terms of measuring progress?
Right. So the thing is, of course, it's a very philosophical question as well. How do you avoid grades and marks and all of this? Because it's been so deeply ingrained in our system. One of the ways to do it is to understand that there are two types. So James Carge talks about two types of games that we play. One is finite games and one is infinite games. Finite games have known players, they have known outcomes, and you have winning and losing as a goal. And this is when you play a sport, when you play basketball, football, and all, it's suitable. But in real life, like education, marriage, relationships, okay, job, career, these are infinite games. All through life, the players will keep changing, the learnings will keep changing, and you shouldn't quantify them. Now, unfortunately, we have taken finite rules and put them in an infinite space. Growth can never be quantified, right? Which is why it becomes very difficult. So how do you overcome this? One of the things that happens, one of the things that we can do is to make it possible for us to understand that learning is an ongoing process that does not require to be quantified. It comes from a deeper understanding of the human psyche. But as long as it's a commercialized process, I don't think we will do away with grades. So I hope that answers the question.
Girish, any other question?
Okay,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Mr. Girish?
Ma'am, from Anbumani.
Yes.
Ma'am, I can't get seventh need clearly. Can you
Okay.
explain briefly, please?
I'm so glad you were listening to all the needs. Okay. One is the seventh need is my contribution to making a difference to life. So if you look at all of us, one of the driving forces is what am I doing with my life? How do I, contribute towards life? Now, for example, when the Vice Chancellor spoke about Shiva Shakti ma'am, he said she's done, and even during the vote of thanks, they said she's done so many webinars during the pandemic. She was in Chennai. She could have just said Chennai is like a hotspot for Corona. I can just sit at home. But she looked at how can I transcend this and contribute towards the world. Okay, she can just be resting at home. Nobody expected her to work, but she still found meaning in that. So how do I contribute towards something bigger, right? And this can be even Dr. Abdul Kalam. After he finished his tenure in the Rashtrapati Bhavan, he went and taught in the Indian Institute of Management. He realized that he needed to contribute. He's always a teacher, right? So we can look at what can my need be. So for a student, it's not about grades and all that. The student wants to be more meaningful in the classroom. So you will see children who are doing well in everything and they still want to help others. They say, sir, shall we do an NSS project? Shall we do this? Shall we do that? So everybody as human beings has this need to contribute more than for themselves. I want to do more for the people around me. That is the seventh need. And we meet it by striving, by reaching, by trying to do more, right? And if this is not met, it becomes an existential crisis because I start questioning, am I worth living on this planet? And that's what sometimes becomes like depression, not depression, but mimics depression. So I hope I answered that question.
Thank you, ma'am. A question from Alia Parveen. What we do sometimes, teachers behave very unprofessionally, label hits, become judgmental, etc. When we complain, they take revenge on hits.
Yeah. So the thing is here, this is where I said the first two competencies, self-awareness and emotional perception, need to be developed. If I'm going to be a teacher, I need to work on myself first. It's like I said, it's never about the content, it's about the connection. So if you do not have the capacity to connect with people, don't become a teacher, because connection is such an important thing, right? And ultimately, why do we speak so, I mean, if I have to give you the best example, why do we speak so highly of Dr. Abdul Kalam? Because he was somebody who connected at every level with his students, with his learners. That humility came in through everything. So unless you are able to keep evolving as a human being, being a subject expert doesn't help. Yes, this unfortunate situation where people take revenge and all happens, and we all know this. And if you are going to be an educator, I hope you will choose within yourself never to be a teacher like that. See, sometimes, we meet people who teach us how we should not be. Probably the teachers you've encountered will teach you that. So I hope I answered that question.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, a question from Anusha. How to get along with a person who feels very insecure and keeps putting you down even when things are done in right way, done in the right way.
Right. Alfred Adler used to call this the inferiority complex. When someone feels inferior, they will always put themselves as superior and try to put other people down. So if you read psychology, the original theory of inferiority complex, that's what it is. See, one thing is, again, like I answered the first question, is this a relationship that is important? Right? If it is important, work on it. If it's not important, you can keep it in the periphery, then keep it in the periphery. Because again, there is no way you are going to impact this person and change them. Of course, if it's a marriage and inside your marriage, you are being treated like that, please do work with that relationship. So again, everything will be dependent upon whether this relationship is important. If it's not important, don't waste your effort. Work on your focus and work on the things that you can achieve. If it is important, then sit down and communicate with the person. But very often, somebody who's going to the level of shaming others finds it difficult to change, and they may require a little bit of therapeutic support, and I hope that helps you.
Ma'am, one participant,
yes.
No name. How to tackle with students who are not talking and always silent in the class?
Right. So they, again, go back to the need for silence. Now, there are children who may be silent because they don't know how to communicate. They don't feel adequate. So again, go to the need. So go back very mindfully to what could be the reason. Now, as a student, I was an extremely silent student because I was always made to feel very stupid. My brother was better than me, etc. It's only much later that I realized, no, I have something to contribute. So if you find that the student is very, very silent, then what you could do is to build a little bit of interaction with them on a one-on-one basis, where they understand that my ma'am or my sir understands me. And you can find out during that conversation if something is good. And in that rule, I would always say, listen, don't lecture. The principle that I use there is listen, don't lecture. Because when you listen to what the child is saying and you're not lecturing them on how they should be, many children open up and let you know what the problem is. But for it to change, it takes up to 6 months. Very often what happens, one day we'll go and speak to them, next day we expect they'll open up in class. It won't happen. It takes time to build a new habit. So I hope that answers.
Yes, Mr.
Panelist Kanagaya, please unmute yourself. Kanagaya.
Yeah, he has two questions.
Yes, sir.
If he's not unmuting, his questions are
yes, sir. Kanagaya, how to create social equality in the classroom? How teacher will identify the child depression in the classroom?
Okay, one is social equality is something within the classroom. I ensure that I don't bring all these divisive, discriminatory practices within my classroom. I create an environment where all students are equal, are made to feel equal. And this is something that is a conscious practice that I need to do in my classroom. And this can be done by meeting all the 7 needs, where I give opportunities for all children and so on. Of course, it's a whole Pandora's box if I open it now. But what I would do is to, at a very, very simple level, understand that every child needs, opportunities in the class. 2, make sure that you communicate and connect with every child in the class. And 3, ensure that the love languages of the children, if you're interested, you can read up Gary Chapman, the 5 love languages. How are the 5 love languages in the classroom and how I can meet those? That's a simple way of working with it. The second, on how do you identify depression. See, depression is something that has to be diagnosed by a clinician. So we won't diagnose it in the classroom, but when you see a sudden change in the child's behavior, child is withdrawn, child is not regular in submission of work, child is lagging behind, you find them extremely sleepy, very tired in the classroom, cries very easily, doesn't interact with their peer group. So when you find a change in the child's behavior, it would be a time where you can have the school counselor have a look, and if needed, refer to a clinician. So identification of depression or any kind of mental health challenge will start from our observation non-judgmentally. Look at it non-judgmentally and see if there are changes which may require to be seen by a professional. We won't diagnose, we will just identify. I hope that answers the question.
Now, question from Savita Pandey. Positive towards everything will help us in managing our emotions, and let it go attitude will also make us to manage our emotions. Your suggestion, please.
No, that's called toxic positivity. If I'm always positive, that is toxic positivity. Like when both my parents passed away, I have to cry. If I'm positive there, then it's going to be very dangerous for me. It leads to suppression and repression of emotions. So the mantra that I use, every honest emotion is a positive emotion. So in that situation, what I need to feel, if I feel, then it's good. So if I hurt somebody, feeling guilty is fine, as long as I'm able to change it to feel more connected to the person. If I am lost something and I feel sad, that's a positive emotion. So when we say positive, it shouldn't be toxic positive. It must be balanced to that situation and an honest situation, honest emotion. So I hope that
answers. Thank you, ma'am. From a question from Ajay Bharati. What are the ways to recover quickly from problematic situations?
Mm-hmm. One is identify what the problem is, the 6 steps to problem solving. One is identify. So I use the 4 R's. That's a method that you can use. But apart from that, you can also look at what is the problem. Now, what do I want to do about it? Right? What do I want to do about it is the second question. Third, what am I feeling? So you need to do at the thought rational level and at the emotional level, both required to be done. So at the emotional level, what am I feeling? What would I like to feel instead? And work on that. At the rational level, this is the problem, these are the solutions. So for every situation, if I look at both the thought and the emotional level and look at the steps in problem solving, generating solutions for it, trying it, and then seeing what works and what needs to be changed. So this is where, success and failure will always happen. When success happens, don't take it to your head. It will become pride and it will pull you down. Take it to your heart, enjoy it, let it be. And when failure happens, don't take it to your heart. It will pull you down. You take it to your head, see what needs change. So success and failure, when you deal with it with the right place. So failure to the head and success to the heart, you're usually able to solve problems. I hope that helps.
Ma'am, this is the last question, I think.
Yes.
How to deal with children who are overactive?
See, now this whole aspect of overactivity, there are a lot of neurological components in this. So please understand, does the child have natural physical play, outdoor play? Because children need between 300 and 500 minutes per week as physical activity. If they don't have that, they're going to be overactive in the class. Second, check for gadget usage and gadget addiction, because any child who's looking at a screen, the vestibular system, as we call it, tends to get overactivated. The movement and balance system tends to get overactivated when we are passively watching a screen. So that needs to be balanced. Third, look for food habits. Is the child having a lot of artificial colors, flavors, sugars? That would be the third. So first, look at the organic and the lifestyle changes, that the child have sufficient sleep and all of this. If all this is balanced, then what I would do is work on giving them small activities within the classroom, which will regulate their brain activity. One of the things that you can look up online is called Brain Gym 26. There are 26 specific activities which help us regulate games. There are a couple of my YouTube videos on how you can use physical activity as a way of enhancing thinking skills. You can have a look at that. So I hope that answers the question. I'm sorry, I think I've overshot the time, but I hope it was useful. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yes. We'll just conclude. Aarti, I think you're the first batsman in this week-long webinar. You hit a real big century, sixes and fours all around. And it's very powerful. As you said, you put things very strongly. I'm sure the messages has reached the teachers very strongly, and you have put it with a lot of experiences, insights, examples, and activities. I think we never felt bored about it. And it's like reading so many books in this 1.5 hours, because, my table is full of notes, whatever you said. I'm sure everybody would have felt in the same way. Thank you so much. To conclude, we would like we'd like to have a word of thanks formally to you and others in the panel. I request our Vice Principal, Professor Ribu Samuel, to propose the vote of thanks.
Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon to all of you. It is well said that well begun is half done. The organizers can now feel happy that the week-long webinar has started on a high note. Honorable Vice Chancellor and Registrar of Tamil Nadu Teacher Education University, respected resource person, conveners, and organizing secretaries of the webinar, and dear delegates. It's my pleasure to express words of gratitude to all who are part of this fruitful session. It's a coincidence that today happens to be International Teachers' Day, and the theme is Leading in Crisis and Reimaging the Future. Ma'am Arati C. Rajaratnam has presented the emotional hurdles in the classroom in a very effective way, and I am sure that overcoming these hurdles in our classroom effectively, we indeed can be leaders in crisis and reimage the future. Ma'am, you have explained the needs which remain unfulfilled and which can become the hurdles in our classroom, and also you have given us ways to deal with them. I need not say that the participants well accepted the message. Ma'am, we are really grateful to you and accept my sincere thanks on behalf of Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, Crossland College, and all participants. Thank you, madam.
Thank you
My
so much.
sincere thanks to the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Panchanatham, Registrar V. Balakrishnan, Dean Professor M. Govindan, and Dr. Shivashakti Rajammal of Tamil Nadu Teacher Education University for their efforts in organizing this week-long webinar on a very innovative topic, Every Child Matters, Reaching the Unreached. My sincere thanks also goes to Professor Samuel K. Samuel and Dr. Robert Clive for joining hands with TNTU in this venture. Thanks to all. Thanks to all participants. This is just a beginning. Be with us in the coming days and enrich yourself. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
So
Dr. Ribu, ma'am.
thank you, Professor
Thank you,
Ribu Samuel.
Rajaratnam. Thank you so much, ma'am.
So thank you for sparing your time. So Dr. Shivashakti, I'll just take a few seconds to announce tomorrow's topic so
Yes,
that
sir,
audience
yes, sir,
will
yes, sir.
be more prepared. So tomorrow at the same time at 11, we'll have another enterprising session from Mr. Sashank Rao. He is from African Leadership Academy, Johannesburg, South Africa. He will talk to us on how do we teach students to be leaders. So let's tune to him at 11. So thank you so much to everyone for being part of today's session. Ms. Arati, once again, thank you so much for being available to us and making a big difference. Thank you so much to one and all.
Thank you, Arati, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. You are looking very smart, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Samuel, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, Robert Clive, sir. Thank you, Dr. Anjani Devi, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Giri, sir. Thank you, all the panelists. Thank you, all the participants. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Shivashakti, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Sir, shall we wind up, sir?
Yes, please.